The seagulls follow shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go again, folks. It is the Bustalgia World Tour continuing as we head off to Germany tonight for World Cup 2006. But yeah, it's been a good night. I suppose everyone's in a good mood. Celtic are back, a magnificent 7. It scored past, I don't even know what their name was tonight. We have got the 7th episode of Bustalgia tonight. We went live at 7 minutes past 8, so it's all the 7s going on this evening, folks. But yes, once again, I am Phil. I'm the driver tonight, and I'm joined by Russell Bhoycie to this side here. Hello, Russell. How you doing, mate?
What's happening, my man? Look forward to this week.
All good, mate. All good. I'm the same, mate. I'm buzzing for it, man. This is a good tournament. Very good fond memories of it. So, yeah, looking forward to getting in about it. And yes, tonight I am actually wearing my glasses as well as many of you spot, because just in case we have a little technical mishap, I can actually interact with the comments now. Just in
it
case
might happen. It might happen.
Fingers crossed it doesn't happen, please. Please, it doesn't. So hopefully no. Hopefully no.
Mate, I know.
But yeah, it's going to be a good one, mate. So yeah, I've got actually an exclusive to reveal right away, boys. So we're coming in with the big exclusives right off the bat. So I'm going to try and share my screen right now on this, because I've never done this before. Hold on, 2 ticks, because I saw a tweet through the week. Yes, there is indeed. So share screen. This is the first time I've done it on this. Share window. So I saw through the week there was some tweets about Bustalgia in the new season. I saw you were getting tweets asking about, what's the plans and so forth. Well, I'm going to show. I'm going to show the viewers what the first 5 episodes are going to be when the new season starts. So 2 ticks if this works.
Yep, no worries, mate.
Okay. So, as it came through, Russell?
No, shit. Oh. There we go.
There we go. So there you go. So episode 1, when we go into the Celtic years Bustalgia, will be the 2007-2008 season. Strachan's 3rd season, that one that ended on a Thursday night in Tannadice. The first season where I had my season ticket, very, very fond memories of it. Episode 2, you might want to nickname it the Celtic Da episode, because we're going to be covering the early 90s. Yes, a dark time for all, but we're going to go back to 1990 to cover through to 1994 up to the takeover. We've got a few people on the bus who are actually heavily involved in Celts for Change as well. So
yes, we do.
Opinions. That episode would be an education for me, because even though I was alive, I didn't start bothering with football in Celtic till 94, till after the takeover. So it'd be a real education for me to hear what it was like at that time, going to Celtic Park. So that'll be a good one. Episode 3 is going to be the Invincible Trebles. We're going to be jumping to 2016-17. We're going to go back and look at that one. I mean, some of the pictures there, some of the memories. That's going to be a good one. All those trophies, all that silverware. And then episode 4 is a special episode. It's going to be a player-specific episode, and he's a fave on the bus. It's none other than Chris Sutton. Yes, a whole episode devoted to Chris Sutton's best moments in a Celtic shirt. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that.
I love it, mate. I look forward to that one the most.
That one will be a good one. Yep. Maybe the man himself will see it. You never know. That'd be great. And then episode 5 is going to be the Entertainers, the Tommy Burns 95-96 team that lost one league game all season and still didn't win the league. We're going to go back and look at that, the memories from that season. You know, talking about specifically George Cadet and all the issues around his registration with Jim Farry. You know, if we got that over the line, if they actually processed that quickly, if we turned a few of the draws into wins, what could have been? But that's going to be the first 5 episodes for anyone that's been wondering. But for the time being, I'll stop sharing that. We are obviously pushing on with our tournaments. So yeah.
Phil, that's exciting, mate.
It is, mate.
It's exciting when I'm seeing all that, mate. I'm thinking, you know, I'm like that. Phil, you're giving the game away too much, mate. Didn't anyone copying you, mate? You know what I mean? That is some serious thought process put into that.
It's like we talk about. It's like we talk about every week when you bring up the snooker and stuff like that. You've got to be thinking 2 or 3 shots ahead. And I'm already thinking about 5 shots ahead at the moment with Bustalgia going into the new season.
Yeah, indeed.
So a few more weeks of this, looking at old tournaments, and then when the new season starts, to say I'll be on a Tuesday night slot or a Wednesday night slot. Depends on
It'll alternate depending on the chance.
It'll alternate. And that's the first 5 episodes, the first month worth of the Celtic years of Bustalgia you've got to look forward to. So yeah, that's going to be good stuff. So Russell, we'll get into this World Cup, and as usual, I have come armed with some trivia to get us started. Now, tonight's trivia, I think, is going to descend into one of those just shouting answers at me because there isn't really any rhyme nor reason to it, but there is a connection to this tournament because obviously this is the 2006 World Cup. We are in Germany. The all-time top scorer in the World Cup is Miroslav Klose. He scored 16 goals, I believe, but he scored against 10 different opponents. So what I'm looking for tonight is the 10 teams he has scored against over the years in World Cups. I say it's probably going to descend into just shouting names, but nevertheless, it's got a German connection, though. It's got it. So
that's
we'll
fair,
be
mate.
Go for that. It's just connected to the.
Like
obviously, I've got some data Bhoycie as well later on for tonight. I've got another 5 lined up. Tonight is the night, Russell. I think you're getting your 5, mate. I think you're getting it, mate.
Yeah, you always say this, man. It's just so annoying. I'm annoyed more at myself, though. I'll still never get over Gary Breen from a few weeks ago. Gary fucking Breen. 1973, every day of the week. Why did I say 1974? Why did I say it, Phil? I can't sleep at night thinking about that still.
Is he haunting your dreams? Rent free in your head, aye.
Gary Breen, man. In my dreams. What a life I live.
Oh, man. But what was the one last week again? It was... Fuck, I can't remember who it was now. The 5th one, because it was like a good few years out. I can't even remember who it was now. Fuck. Oh, well. But tonight you redeem yourself, mate. It's happening. I'm telling you, man, you're going to get it. I think the 5 that I've picked are quite favourable. But let's get battered in, mate, to the World in 2006. Let's go back and see what was going on as we usually do. So we will start with a pop culture rewind in the World of 2006. So obviously the football winners. Now the Champions League winner had a big impact on Celtic that summer. This is Barcelona defeating Arsenal in Paris 2-1. Henrik Larsson, of course, infamously came off the bench, got the 2 assists. It's, of course, the game with Thierry Henry. Cut that promo, if you want to call it that, at the end where he talked about, people came here and talked about Ronaldinho. All I saw tonight was Henrik Larsson. A lot of praise for him. But yes, Sol Campbell actually gave Arsenal the lead. They go down to 10 men with Jens Lehmann getting sent off, and then it was Samuel Eto'o and Giuliano Belletti. But I believe if Arsenal had won that game, we would have had to have played in the qualifiers in the Champions League that year due to the coefficient. But Barcelona winning actually done us a huge favour. If you remember that one, Russell.
I think as well, what I was going to quickly say there was about Sol Campbell. That's like the 3rd time he's featured scoring a header so far in Bustalgia, and it's always been a negative.
Aye, that's right. Aye.
He's had 2 disallowed so far in the series, and he's now had one which was the the opening goal in a final that his team ultimately lost. So when Sol Campbell races away, and I'm sure it's been at the same end on your TV, each one of the 3 headers, and he races away to the same corner flag as well, in a very similar style.
Yep.
A very similar style. So if you see Sol Campbell racing away after scoring a header, always mind bad news is ahead. Bad news is ahead.
Yeah, he's he actually features in this World Cup as well in the England team, but
Of course.
he does indeed. But yeah, he's got a bad track record so far in these Bustalgia episodes. But I'll tell you something that's not got a bad track record: Sevilla in the Europa League / UEFA Cup, because this was number 2 of their 6 Europa Leagues. They defeated Espanyol, fellow Spanish team, at Hampden in a penalty shootout after a 2-2 draw. This was their 2nd in a row because the year before they'd beat Middlesbrough. Yes, that's right. Middlesbrough were in a European final. But yes, Seville, they've been in 6 Europa League finals or UEFA Cup, what you want to call it, and they've won all 6, mate. Absolutely. They are a force in that cup. They do not get beat. They absolutely love the Europa League.
I don't actually know what you said, mate. It froze at my end. I'm really sorry about that.
All right. I just thought about Seville, just waxing lyrical about Sevilla.
Sevilla, of course, mate.
Because they beat Espanyol,
they've got a hex on that tournament. They've got a total. It's mental, mate. Their connection with that tournament is surreal. Absolutely surreal. They could play anyone in the UEFA Cup / Europa League. I think they're favourites, mate. No matter who they play. In that tournament, they're ahead of the game, mate, in that tournament. I don't know why. But how many times in the last 2 decades have they won it?
6. They've got 6 out of 6. That's what I was saying when I froze. They've got a 100% record.
Sorry.
Aye. No, I'm just saying, like, obviously I froze, but they've got an immaculate 100% record every final they've got to. They've won. Yeah, 6 out of 6. So they beat Middlesbrough the year before, but this year they beat Espanyol at Hampden after a 2-2 draw. An exciting 2-2 draw. I remember watching it, and they won on penalties in the end. And then they had, what was it? There was 3 that they did in a row in the 2010s. It was like Benfica was one of them. The Ukrainian team, Dnipro, and Liverpool. They beat Liverpool in a final. Jurgen Klopp's first, he came in halfway through the season.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then the most recent one, who was it? It's all merging now. Oh, Inter Milan. It was one of the lockdown finals. That was it. They beat Inter in the most recent one in like 2020.
So right, let me get this right. So when everyone else, like, results were going topsy-turvy because of COVID, the one constant was Sevilla winning the Europa League.
Aye, that's right. And they beat Inter. Aye.
Every other tournament, mate, it was like, if there was going to be like maybe a shock in that COVID season, no issue to Sevilla.
Hands off our trophy. Don't touch it. You don't even like look at it. Don't even look at it, But we move on to the big winners in the league. And here's a different one that we've not stumbled across yet. Chelsea won the league in England. Jose Mourinho's 2nd Premier League title. He'd taken over in the 04-05 season. He picks up the 05-06 Premier League. In Scotland, it was us. Gordon Strachan's first title. It was Gordon Strachan's first one, and he also picked up the League Cup as well. Over in Italy, despite Juventus finishing top of the league with 91 points, they actually finished bottom of the league and got relegated, and the title was handed to Inter Milan because that will be getting spoken about later on. That was the infamous Italian football scandal of the mid-2000s where Juve were caught cheating. So, yeah, that was Inter Milan got the title that year. Spain, it was Barcelona that won it. In Germany, it was Bayern Munich. In France, it was Lyon. In Portugal, Porto. And in the Netherlands, it wasn't Ajax this time. We found the PSV Eindhoven one. The PSV picked up the title in 2006. I believe Jan Vennegoor Hesselink would have been playing for them because it was just before he signed for us. And I'm pretty sure Eindhoven got pretty far in the Champions League in 06 because I can remember we were linked with Big Jan. He was one of the top scorers in the Champions League the year before. And I was like, no way we signed this guy. He was like 3rd top scorer in the Champions League. But no, he ended up.
Was he? Oh, I remember him scoring against Leeds United for PSV. But that would have been around 2001, maybe?
Yeah.
2001, 2002. And then we signed him, I'm sure, would it have been around July, August 2006?
It was. I going at the 06-07 season, because he signed before the deadline, scored against Hibs in his debut, didn't he?
Aye. He scored a lot of big goals at Celtic, to be fair to Big Jan.
He did indeed. But yeah, that was his PSV Eindhoven side that won the league in the Netherlands. And the Ballon d'Or winners in 2006, Ronaldinho was the holder from 05. And of course, the winner at the end of 2006 would be Fabio Cannavaro after the year he had. So that's perfectly understandable. Italy captain after all. Other sports winners, we're out of the Michael Schumacher dominance now in the F1. Fernando Alonso picks up his second F1 title. Michael Schumacher retires at the end of the 06 season, but comes back a few years later to drive for Mercedes. In Wimbledon, it was Roger Federer defeating Rafael Nadal to win the men's title. In the women's one, I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly, Emily Mauresmo defeated Justine Henin to win the women's title. In the world of golf, Phil Mickelson won the US Masters, Tiger Woods lifted the British Open, and in the Ryder Cup, Europe made it 3 in a row against the USA. And we've got the snooker, Graham Dott, who we talked about in the last episode. He defeated Peter Ebdon to win the snooker world championship that year. How many did he win in the end, Russell? World titles, Graham Dott?
I think that's it. That's it. Only one, mate. That's
one and done.
Yeah.
No, I've also added
that final was very unmemorable as well. They were two notoriously boring players.
Yeah, and he said the last one as well. Even though Dott, when he's got a drink in him, he's a bit of a wild man. But yeah,
boring at snooker. They're both boring players.
I've added this one onto our sport because this is around about the time when it's starting to get a bit more glitz and glamour. Darts, Sky Sports have done it, and also there's a link between snooker and darts, isn't there? It's Hearn, is it Barry Hearn, and he runs because it's Eddie Hearn's his son. It's the boxing Matchroom, aye, because there's a connection between them, aye. Because
Eddie runs the whole thing now.
The whole thing, right? Okay.
Aye, Barry retired like 2 years ago. Eddie Hearn owns the full Matchroom.
Right.
So it's Eddie Hearn's actually in charge of the darts as well. How much of his focus he puts on that, I don't know. I would imagine he delegates a lot of the work, but his dad's actually not in it anymore.
Okay. Actually, I knew when I dad did it, I was like the Hearn family, they're both linked with snooker and darts. But yeah, Sky Sports have done an unbelievable job of turning darts into something actually quite attractive to watch. The World Championship though that year, to no surprise, if you had to take a guess, Phil the Power Taylor, I think he won like 14 world titles. So yeah, that's one of his many there. I think it's his 11th out of 14. The Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl, their 5th of 6. They defeated the Seattle Seahawks. And then in the boxing, oh man, I went through all these world titles. There's so many like Russian names with lots of syllables, mate. So many. Okay, so the WBO heavyweight title swapped hands a couple of times. Lamont Brewster, and then it was Sergei Lykovich, and then Shannon Briggs all held the title throughout the year. WBA title was held by Nikolai Valuev. Hasim Rakhman started 2006 as WBC heavyweight champion before losing it to Oleg Maskiev, I'm going to say, in August. And then Vladimir Klitschko, I know who he is, defeated Chris Bird in April 2006 to win the IBF heavyweight championship, and he would hold the title until November 2015 before losing it to Tyson Fury. Fucking hell, an 11-year title reign, or 9-year, title reign. I guess it on Wikipedia, like 18 title defenses in that time.
Yeah, I mean, the competition wasn't great at that point, though. I think definitely. Even then, Tyson Fury wasn't fancied to do that at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's, sort of defines Tyson Fury's career, both first phase and second phase. No one expects him to do it. And then, see, the thing is, well, obviously it wasn't 2006. Let's just stick to 2006 where I get carried away talking about Tyson Fury.
No worries. We'll get there eventually somewhere down the Bustalgia trail. We'll get there at some point. And of course, I'll always wrap off with the sports section and the world of pro wrestling. Again, WWE still sailing along with no real competition against them. So they've done that thing where they've got two separate brands. So over on Raw, John Cena is pretty much in his reign of terror at this point where he just keeps winning all the time.
Yeah.
He's a WWE champion. Rey Mysterio is a world heavyweight champion, despite not being a heavyweight, but many fans soured on that one because it was basically out of the fact that his best friend Eddie Guerrero had passed away the year before. So if a lot of fans could see right through it right away when WWE pushed Rey Mysterio, it's like, come on now. But yeah, that was the wrestle chat. So now we move on to the world of music. Now, Russell, last week we talked about indie rock, and you've discovered through the week that this brand. This type of music's actually got a name for it.
It does,
yeah.
mate. So I was watching, you just get recommendations on the old YouTube. You know what I mean?
Oh,
what
yes.
to watch. I'm
Algorithms.
I don't actually subscribe to YouTube, and I actually feel rotten because I use it all the time. Not that I'm, like they're worried about my £7 a month. You know what I mean? But I'm like, that's the one I should be subscribed to, not fucking Netflix. Although I am watching Stranger Things right now. I am pretty impressed. I've got to say. But I don't really get much use out of my Netflix and Amazon Prime or that. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, on YouTube, I was recommended video, and it was the Enemy interviewing a very healthy looking, I would say, Pete Doherty, right? Okay. And that's what kind of intrigued me initially. He's probably put on 2-3 stone, Phil. From remember what he was before, but you can see he's not a picture of health, but compared to where he was, I mean, he used to look really greasy and gone, and he didn't look right. Obviously, we know what he was putting into his body. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, didn't look right. What's wrong with just a wee casual dragon soup on Bustalgia? You can still stay the picture of health. But he was on there talking about. In fact, he was getting interviewed about, is it nice playing these gigs again and stuff, 25 years or whatever it is after, Up the Bracket it came out and things like that, 20 years after Up the Bracket it came out. And he said, the Indie Sleaze is actually having a bit of a comeback. And I was sort of like, what's this? And the conversation goes on. So that era we were talking about last week, where your Libertines, Arctic Monkeys, Kasabians, Kaiser Chiefs, Snow Patrols, all Razor Lights. It's been determined, the term that it gets used is Indie Sleaze. So there you go.
Indie Sleaze, yes.
I quite like it.
Aye, I mean, it sounds insulting, but also quite cool at the same time. It's a bit of both. Aye,
which I think is probably the idea. It probably is the idea. But I think it's good that it's got a term. I mean, I've told you before, I hate that Britpop terminology. If Oasis are described in it, because I'm always like, they weren't Britpop, what I mean? But I think the Indie Sleaze thing, it's quite cool that era, because I think folk my age just go, oh, that was a good period, but we've never really had a name for it, so we lived through the Indie Sleaze era, mate. I found this out this week.
Okay, well, hopefully we do get a wee renaissance of some Indie Sleaze, because I thoroughly enjoyed the music retrospective last week, because that was a good era, but it's kind of continued going into 2006. But I'll quickly run through all the big hits, the big chart toppers as we head towards the download era. We're getting closer towards where downloads pretty much consume the charts, but number one when this tournament kicked off was Crazy by Gnarls Barkley. The X Factor winner that year was Leona Lewis, one of the very few who's actually got a bit of talent and has a bit of a long career out of X Factor, but otherwise they usually disappear after one song. The number one at Christmas this year was Patience by Take That, because they're back now doing things in 2006. The big hits across the year was Smile by Lily Allen, Rehab by Amy Winehouse, When the Sun Goes Down by the Arctic Monkeys, Hips Do Not Lie by Shakira and Wyclef Jean. Shout out to Stephen Tomlinson for the Endless Seltzer the night when he tried to pronounce Schalke, and then it turned into a Shakira comment fest. Like you said, what was it, Shekel or something he called them? It was fantastic. But yeah, Shakira's name then came up. Man Eater by Nelly Furtado, Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance, Smack That by Akon, Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls, Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake, You Give Me Something by James Morrison, America by Razorlight, I Don't Feel Like Dancing by Scissor Sisters, So Sick by Neil, Danny California, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and a song that becomes synonymous with Celtic over the next few years, Chelsea Dagger by the Fratellis. Yes, it was a big hit, became the goal celebration song, and a few one-hit wonders as well from 2006, No Tomorrow by Orson, I Wish I Was a Punk Rocker by Sandy Tom, Voodoo Child, not the Jimi Hendrix one, by Rogue Traders, Put Your Hands Up for Detroit, Freddie Legrand, Chico Time, and What's That Coming Over the Hill? Is It a Monster by The Automatic, a band who are kind of in that indie scene, but they only had one real hit, that was it, Monster, but that was 2006. But yeah, the indie scene, Indie Sleaze, as we've called it, there's still a few songs that made it into the charts, like Valerie by the Zootones, which I mentioned last week, actually got released in 2006 and charted at number 9. But before Amy Winehouse and Mark Ronson got a hold of it, it was actually the Zootones. Jack White had a wee side project away from the White Stripes called the Raconteurs, Steady As She Goes. Remember that song, Russell?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
2006 also the year that Kasabian released Empire. And also bands like The Muse, Cooks, Snow Patrol, The Killers, they all have notable hits in 2006. And here's one as well that popped up in 2006. Do you remember the Ordinary Boys?
I do, mate. I do.
Yes,
I
and
remember
you know why
them.
they were significant in 2006? Why they made some headlines?
Go for it.
The lead singer Preston appeared in Celebrity Big Brother, and then he ended up marrying that girl Chantel like a month after they got out of the house. Remember that?
Yes, I do. I do remember that. The Ordinary Boys as well. I think a lot of their fans were a bit disappointed that he was so pop-tastic, shall we say, when he went on to Big Brother. He went very mainstream, and I don't think their music was very light. It was actually quite clever what they were writing about. You know, they got a lot of respect for their first album in particular. I remember what was one of the songs, A Healthy Argument to Start the Day. What better way? I thought they were great lyrics. It's interesting that the second these people see fame and fortune, mate, they'll sell out just like that. Do you know what I mean? And leave dedicated fans, mate, in the dust, in the rear view mirror, and then they'll do a comeback 10 years later and say we never really left you. And those same gullible fans will still buy the fucking tickets. You know?
Did you ever see his appearance on Nevermind the Buzzcocks where he got genuinely fucking raging at the host? Now, it was well after Mark Martin.
Simon Amstel.
Simon Amstel. That was the name that was in my head, and I was like, I'm not sure if it's Simon Amstel. And he made some sort of joke about Chantel, and it was years after they divorced, and the look on Preston's face, he was fucking raging. Absolutely fizzing.
It's funny you said that, because a lot of people are talking about it in the comments as well.
Aye, there you go. Simon Amstel. Aye, that is. And that's not me reading the comments, because I've genuinely got my notes over the comments. I haven't got my glasses on tonight. I'm not cheating. That one genuinely just came into my head as we're talking about them. And another band that made a big return as well in 2006 was Primal Scream, released Curry Girl, which unfortunately ITV decided to use for most of the coverage during the World Cup, which is quite annoying given that, Bobby Gillespie's Scottish. Country Girl was used as the main theme on ITV for the World Cup.
The thing was with Primal Scream's comeback was obviously, do you know what we should have done as a feature on Bustalgia? See the pop and culture rewind. I've just thought of this. We should have done who was headlining Tea in the Park that year.
Oh fuck!
That would have been brilliant. It's annoying. I've only just thought of it now, mate.
Celtic years Bustalgia. I'll do it. I'll do it for that then.
Do it then, mate. Because Tea in the Park was absolutely massive for a long period of time, a huge part of Scottish, pop culture, if you like. And in 2006, with Primal Scream obviously making a return to form and a real sort of return to the top, if you like. These are the options, Phil. Right now, if I tell you the four bands I had to choose on the Sunday evening in 2006 at Tea in the Park because they were all on at the same time. They were all on, these four bands, right? Now, if they were just named at a festival, right, those four bands are playing, you'd probably buy a ticket based on just that, let alone making your mind up as to which one to go see over the other. So, I give you, on the main stage, The Who.
Oh my God, okay.
On the NME stage, Richard Ashcroft.
Wow.
In the King Tut's tent, Primal Scream.
Jesus.
And in the brand new Pet Sounds tent, announced that weekend on the Friday, Kasabian. And all of them are on at the same time.
Wow.
What are you meant to do?
Oh man, that is tough, by the way. That is a difficult one. I mean, my leaning would be towards The Who, but I did really like Kasabian. I've talked to him up a few times on this, saying how much I loved him at that point. Oh God, I don't know. It's a tough one.
Do you know what I mean?
That
tells you where you were the festivals and that there. I mean, if Transmit announced that those four bands were playing across 2 days, it will be enough to convince me to buy a ticket for it. Let alone Tea in the Park used to have them all on at the same time.
Man,
frightening.
Who wrote that schedule? Sack that person.
I know. Well, I know because before they used to try and sort of, I always felt they went for like I remember Ian Brown had played on the Sunday night the year before, but it was at the same time as Green Day, and I thought that makes sense. Two huge bands, but it's going to attract different audiences. I kind of understood the thinking there. Whereas I'm like, this is fucking mental. How you like? Those four are all huge, and all going to attract, I feel, like similar quite similar fans. But aye, just shows you the strength of the festivals back then, mate. You know.
Aye, it was good stuff. But no, I'll do that then. We go on to Celtic Years Bustalgia. I'll try and do the who's headlining, probably include Glastonbury as well, because Glasgow's obviously huge. But IT in the Park and Glasgow will probably be the two ones I'll highlight. But
as
yeah,
Paul Dyatt quickly says though, there, Phil, as well, because I
Whoa.
never actually said what I went to see. I went to see Ashcroft too, mate. That's what I went to see.
Okay.
And I end up, if you watch, it's on YouTube. Richard Ashcroft, 2016, the part Lucky Man. Around 1 minute 30, 1 minute 40, there is a young, I won't even say what I'm full of, but I am mad with it, right? And as a young 18-year-old version of me, 18, not even 19 yet, in a white parka with red aviators on someone's shoulders during that, and it does kind of cut to us.
Okay.
And it's pretty funny. There's no Bond highlights then either, man. It was a bold look. A very bold look.
Oh, I'll need to dig up that one after this then. I'll be on that right away. Fantastic. Right, so we'll move on quickly to movies, the big films of 2006. So it was, let's see, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, Cars, X-Men The Last Stand, The Da Vinci Code, Superman Returns, Ice Age Meltdown, Happy Feet, James Bond, Casino Royale, Talladega Nights, Mission Impossible 3, and the Borat movie was out in 2006. Quite enjoyed that one compared to some of the other ones that Sacha Baron Cohen's done, but yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the Borat one. And at the Oscars, the big ones that were involved, the nominations were, big nominees were Brokeback Mountain, Crash, King Kong, and Memoirs of a Geisha Share the Spoils, all winning 3 awards each. Brokeback Mountain had the most nominations though, with 8. News headlines in 2006, and again, it's all so bad stuff, man. Since the 2002 show, as I told you, everything goes downhill because it's more terrorist attacks. This time it's an Al-Qaeda-led terrorist attack in Mumbai, India, that leaves 209 dead, similar to the Madrid one in the last show. It's all on trains. Saddam Hussein was also captured and executed as the war in Iraq raged on. Google purchased YouTube for $1.65 billion in 2006. YouTube was only a year old at that time. Not a bad bit of business for YouTube, but they held on a wee bit longer. Probably could have got more given what it's become now. Although then again, maybe what it's become now is a lot more down to Google, I guess, would be the argument there. Also, 2006 is the year that Australian naturist Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, was killed when he was swimming with the stingray sharks. That was 2006. Now, in my head, I thought that was a bit more recent. I couldn't believe it was that long ago when I was reading through the headlines. Yeah, remember that one? Mental. Given how much dangerous shit he got up to with all these animals, like getting close to them, and then apparently a stingray is actually quite placid, and that's the thing that ended up killing him. Mental.
Even a stingray was like, "You're doing my nutting, Steve. Do you know that? Honestly, stop talking for a minute, will you? Stop being so enthusiastic about everything, Steve."
Oh no! Well, apparently, I don't know. There's one of these things that people said there was a video out there, but it's like, why would you want to watch that? Just don't be morbid curiosity. Just forget it. Don't watch it. But yeah, apparently the last moments were actually caught on camera by the actual crew. But yeah, thankfully not seen it.
I want to see it. That'd be interesting to see, man.
Right, okay.
I wouldn't be gloating at it, but I've never seen a stingray kill anyone before.
No, see, apparently we're very, because to me, I always thought that stingray would be quite a dangerous one, but supposedly they're one of the less dangerous sharks of creatures in the sea. But yeah, apparently we were swimming with them, and yeah, one of them actually, like the barb on the tail, right through his heart. And I was like, oh god! But yeah, it took me by surprise when I was reading this. I was going, 2006. Can't believe it was that long ago. So I was really shocked that one. And also as well, another one was, well, it wasn't a death, but it was close to it. Top Gear host Richard Hammond was in a brutal car crash over 300 miles per hour.
Yeah,
he was doing a segment for the show where he was testing out the fastest car in the world, I believe in like Utah salt plains. And yeah, 300 miles. Oh my God. But he ended up in hospital with severe like brain injury. But he made a full recovery in the end. And it was a good few years he was off. I think it was 2008. He comes back to Top Gear, but yeah, I can remember that one. Oh, mental, scary.
Very scary. I actually didn't realise it was as long ago as that, Phil. Do you know that?
Yep.
I didn't realise it was as far back as 2006.
Do you want to know why that is? Because he's been in a few crashes. He's quite notorious for having some high-speed crashes. That's the worst one that he's had. But there was another one they did when I think they were filming. They switched over to do the Grand Tour on Amazon. And they were doing like an uphill rally thing, and he drove a car right off basically the edge of this hill, and it tumbled over a few times. He ended up like a few broken bones from that, and I'm just like, oh, my God. Richard Hammond, calm down, mate. Like, don't you drive that fast? Come on. But yeah, I can't even imagine a car going at 300 miles per hour. Oh my God. That's insane. But yeah, that was the news headlines. As I say, there's never many good news headlines as we're going through this. It just seems to be downbeat part. Just wait till we get to 2020. We get to talk about that. Fucking it. I don't know why we left 2020. I don't know why we got it again. But we'll do a pre-tournament roundup now and see what was going on before the tournament, see what happened with Scotland's woes. Now, as I said in the last one, the Euro 2004 was the first one where I'd pitched the idea to my mates about going to a tournament. So this becomes a running theme going forward for all two. So obviously this one's going to be in Germany. So it's like, right, if Scotland qualify for the World Cup, we're going to go. But Scotland get nowhere near it. They were down and out in that group pretty much early on. Betty Votes gets his jotters for his trouble, gets sacked. They bring in Walter Smith about halfway through the campaign, who has a wee late surge, but it's not enough to salvage anything. And I feel like this would become a running theme for Scotland over a few qualifying campaigns where we'd always start bad and then sack the manager, then a new one comes in and we get a wee bit of momentum, but it's too late. And then we start the next campaign and it starts bad and it just rinse and repeat. But yeah, I remember that one in particular because we were in a position where we might sneak into second place and then we lost to Belarus at home. Belarus scored a goal after like 5 minutes and they ended up beating us 1-0. Oh, fuck's sake, man. But yeah, that was Walter Smith when he first came in. It was the next campaign though that
that really frustrating.
Oh
really
God, frustrating. But yeah, Bertie getting his jotters after a few frustrating years. But we move on to England. They've qualified, and every year they've also got an official theme song. This year they chose Embrace to do the official song for the World Cup.
Set yourself up for success in life, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pick Embrace to sing your motivational World Cup song, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
What?
The only thing that could have been worse is Coldplay or something like that, I think.
It's down that avenue, though, isn't it? Really?
It is, man. But we do get to talk about England in this tournament. I think Embrace, that's quite symbolic of the way they played in this tournament, because despite having a plethora of talent, England were absolute dog meat at this tournament. But yeah, World at Your Feet is the official song from England. And as we've been talking about in the last few ones, the Nike ad is always like a big thing during these tournaments. This one, I can remember it, but I had to refresh myself when I was looking up. But yeah, it's not a good one in comparison to what we've had coming before it. So it was I'm going to try to pronounce this right, Joga Bonito TV, Yoga Bonito, Joga. And it's Cantona doing like a sort of like pirate broadcast, like talking into the camera. And it's all just revolving around Brazil. It's all about Brazil. That's the whole focus. And it's like their team are arriving at the stadium, you know, they're all, you know, gals getting off the bus, singing and chanting, you know, even Ronaldinho's playing like a drum and stuff like that on the bus. They get in the dressing room, they do a bunch of skills, you know, kick the ball about each other, or the keepy-ups and flicks and all that. A lot of focus on Ronaldo in this advert, because I think the consensus was this is Ronaldo's big, like, final tournament. This is going to be the big one, because he's still at Real Madrid at this point. I don't think he's transferred to AC Milan. So I think the consensus is this is probably going to be Ronaldo's big goodbye from World Cup football. Yeah. But a guy who gets a lot of focus in this, and one of the reasons why I'm wearing an Inter Milan top tonight, because this is the year that Pro Evolution Soccer 6 was released. And if you know when it comes to Inter Milan and Adriano, because he was meant to be the heir to the throne to Ronaldo, and it didn't quite work out. Yeah, but yeah, this is the year that Pro Evo 6 comes out. And he
Am I right in thinking, Phil, he's another one that, like, once they've sort of burst on the scene, I've almost sort of faded away. But was he back in Brazil by the time he was like 25?
He was young, wasn't it? He played for Parma, scored a load of goals, signed for Inter, and again continued a great run of goals. But I think it was just a few years after this, his dad passed away, and he took it really badly and turned to drink and drugs, and his career just went down really quickly. And yeah, he was back playing in Brazil. Yeah, no, it's because I was going to get onto that when I was talking to Adriano, because this World Cup. This is before this happens. There was a feeling that he was going to be the natural successor, but he kind of underwhelms at this World Cup, and Brazil underwhelm as a whole. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm wearing an Inter top tonight, is because this is the year of Pro Evo 6. And yeah, Adriano is an absolute monster in that game. He is like the guy you must sign on Master League mode with 99 shot power. That left foot is. But yeah, the whole advert just basically evolves all around Brazil, and then it just ends with them playing like a game. It goes out onto the park, following them, and yeah, that's it. It's just it's kind of low key in comparison. I will say this, so I'll give a spoiler away. The next one for Euro 2008 is the one through the player's eyes, the first person perspective, I think a lot of that was inspired because Peep Show was big at that point in 2008. Remember Peep Show on Channel 4?
Yeah.
Well, the whole act there is through the eyes of a player, and he starts at like amateur level and then signs for Arsenal. Then he's running about playing against like Man United and stuff. It's that one, but it's all through first-person perspective. So I think they've been like, oh, Peep Show's huge at this point, and that's where they've got the inspiration from. But that's for the 2008 one. But yeah, then I want to say, compared to what they've done in the last few, it's a bit of an underwhelming one. And there's a bit of a strong Celtic contingent at this one, past, present, and future. Arthur Boric and Zuraski are at this tournament playing for Poland. Nakamura's at the tournament playing for Japan. Obviously, Henrik's there, but he's left Celtic since then. Freddie Lundberg, who would have a brief spell at Celtic, he's obviously tournament. Jan Vennegoor Hesselink, who we've talked about already, he's at the tournament with Holland. Mark Viduka is at the tournament. It's Australia's first ever World Cup. And Harry Kuehl, who's now a coach.
We're claiming that, are we?
We're claiming it, mate. It's a Celtic connection, mate. He's now officially connected with our club. True. Yeah, mate. He's there playing, but yeah, he's quite late on in his career at this point because
he still doesn't look as scruffy as he does now. I don't know if he thinks that's the look he's meant to go for because like Ange is obviously a wee bit rough around the edges and that. I wonder if Harry Kuehl's like working on it or something. Like he's like, oh, I need to look scruffy, you know what I mean? I need to look a wee bit unkept, you know what I mean? Angel like that. Because he was always remember of like when he was a player, but pretty, was he not?
He was a bit,
I don't remember him being like, obviously, you know, people get older, they look slightly different. You know, I get that, Phil. But I mean, he looks homeless. What's happening?
Maybe the few years of management he said's been pretty hard on him.
Must have been, mate.
Yeah, I heard he struggled at like Oldham and stuff like that, so maybe it's hit him pretty hard. But yeah, we're claiming Harry Kuehl. We're just claiming him as a future Celtic link as a coach. We're taking it. And then for the host cities for this one, we have got Berlin, Munich, Dortmund, Stuttgart, Gelsenkirchen, Hamburg, Frankfurt, Kaiserslautern, Nuremberg, Leipzig, Hanover, and Cologne are the cities for this tournament. So yeah, that's the pre-tournament roundup, Russell. So we've kind of done it a bit quicker than usual this time, but yeah, we'll do the musical break now to separate the tournament from the tournament, and then we come back. Yeah, we'll be diving right into our talking points about World Cup 2006, my friend.
Not a bother at all, mate.
We shall be back in 2 minutes, folks.
Aye, that's sound, mate. Always forget to put up a wee banner. There we go. Right, sound.
The seagulls follow the trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
And we are back. Russell Boy's jamming there. Love it, mate. Love it. The top
What
tune,
a
mate.
tune that is, by the way. What a tune.
Fantastic,
That's my mate's song, Brian Cartigan. I always put a wee mention from him in the banner that goes along the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, I was just like, when I was coming up with the bus idea, man, I was like, walking up the road, and I was like, I need a theme song. And I wanted to do an opening credits like that had like wee controversial quotes and stuff, Phil. And then genuinely, I was like, what song though? Because the copyright's going to fuck me if I've got it on every episode. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know why that song came on my Spotify, because he only just released it a few months before, and it came on my Spotify. I went, I wonder if he's got an audio only version of that. So I messaged him. He was like, "You cheeky bastard." He goes, "Do you want my vocals?" I was like, "Mate, just the audio will do."
It's an inspired choice, and also Ryan Kelly in the comments, Gelsenkirchen is shekel, mate. It is indeed. I just saw it there in the comments at the corner of my eye. What are you saying? Sorry, Russell. Sorry, mate.
I was going to say, it would be interesting to know like how many viewers have actually listened to the track with the vocals.
I have.
A bit interesting. It's class, man. It's a brilliant song.
Indeed, yeah.
It'll probably sound really, really weird to a lot of folk now. Do you know what I mean?
Nah, it's a good choice. It's an inspired choice, mate. You actually nailed an absolute belter with that one, man. Good year for it, mate. Good year for that.
Yes, mate.
Choice, man.
It was a moment of inspiration.
It's now synonymous, mate. And of course, on July 31st, you can hear it at Bhoycie Bus live at the Bullfrog in Motherwell. So be there.
It might get played. I know we always forget to promote. I always forget to promote it. 31st July, Bullfrog, man, Motherwell. Bhoycie Bus live, mate. Live. I got
free as well. Free. Come on, folks. Free. Not many things in life are free, but this is free, folks. Come on. Be amazing. It's going to be fantastic, man. I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be buzzing to meet people as well. It's so good.
Studs as well just keeps messaging about the other pod. I mean, it's not a very good patter, Studs. You're funnier than that, mate. Make me laugh, mate. Come up with something funny about the other pod. Make it funny. Instead of just saying 7,000 per day, man. I don't even know what that means. 7,000 what? 7,000 what? Snores. Right, Phil, on you go, mate.
Fair dues, man. Right, so we get fired in. So yeah, the first talking point, and I think something that's so synonymous with this tournament, because again, we always end up talking about them. And another spectacular campaign for England, another spectacular implosion. But there was something about this tournament, the way it went, and something they did different that captured all the headlines. It wasn't what's going on in the park. It was what's going on off the park, Russell, where this is a year that the term fucking wag was brought to the forefront. I'm sure it's probably some daft red top newspaper like The Sun that coined the term at the time. I was like cringing at it, going, that just sounds tacky. It's still here to this day. You can't get rid of it. But yeah, this is the World Cup where Wagamania was running wild. So, as we are Scottish, we are used to watching World Cups or Euros without our team in it because they don't usually qualify. So, what you're usually subjected to when you're watching ITV and BBC, you might be watching a game between, I don't know, let's say South Korea are playing Algeria. And at halftime, they're like, okay, let's cross over to the England camp for an update. You're like, there's no England aren't even playing. And they're giving you a update in the camp. But no, this World Cup.
Yeah. It's tiresome, all that stuff, though. It does. It grates on you.
Yeah. Especially if you've got the BBC and ITV are showing two games like back to back. So ITV are on the Mibby Beeb. And the two of them will do an update from the England camp. It's two games that have got nothing to do with them. But what we're subjected to in this World Cup was wall-to-wall news stories about what the wives and girlfriends were up to as well. It was an absolute shambles. And this is just before the social media day and age exploded. But this is an Instagrammer's dream, this tournament, before Instagram even thing. Yeah.
That's true.
You're getting headlines like Victoria Beckham wasn't sitting with Cheryl Tweedy at lunch today. There's a rift in the camp. And you're like, who gives a fuck? Honestly cares, man. Oh, it was absolute nonsense.
It's interesting as well because the media would then kind of go, do you think the wags have become a distraction? I'm like, no, you've made everything a distraction. That's the truth with non-stories like that. I actually feel a bit like, not sorry for fucking remove part that. I don't feel sorry for any of them, but I think the narrative that was getting spun was unfair. When I think it's perfectly normal for there to be wives and girlfriends at the match and stuff. And I think it got overblown by their own media, who I think here's a wee take I've got for Phil. All these tournaments we've covered in England, all their near misses. I've got a feeling there's some sort of there's a mad. I don't like using the term self-harming because I know it's got other connotations in today's age, and I get that. But I mean, like, I think the media, what can we describe it? Self-destruct button.
Yeah.
The media seem almost so desperate for England to win a tournament, they actually can't handle it happening. It's like they'll build it up, they'll predict England to win, they'll tell you England's got the best team, and then when it gets to the tournament, and it's tournament time, they kind of almost are, I think subconsciously, all the MSM go out their way to derail England's campaign. It's fucking mental when you think about it. They've got this it's an over support that they give it before the tournament begins. So what you find is everyone's getting talked up beyond their ability, right? Gary Spusel's a brilliant player, apparently. You know what I mean? All this nonsense, right? But then they get to the tournament, and I almost think it's like, they don't know what to do if they did get there. Yeah. And they subconsciously start chopping away at their own. They self-implode, they self-destruct, they turn on their own team for very, very little. They seem to find nooks and crannies, Phil, to go, I want a wee stab there at them for that. Non-event stories, as you say, become headline news. And it's all negative. It's all negative energy. And I wonder if there's just a bit of them that shits the bed a wee bit of these big tournaments, and they can't handle going out on ability.
Yeah, the thing is, negative headlines will always sell more newspapers than positive headlines, so it's that old thing as well.
There's that. But I think, I just to very quick, I think genuinely there's a bit of them that realises they've overpushed them, right? Realise once they get to the tournament they've watched, I don't know, say it's a World Cup, Argentina's first game, and went, oh no. Watch Germany's first game, and they've all went, oh no. That team that we said are world beaters maybe aren't as good as that lot. It's almost like they need to find a narrative, mate, and then they can hide behind that. Yeah. Do you understand where I'm going? Like, it's weird. Where really, they should just back them to a normal rate. Be patriotic by all means. We're patriotic as well. We blow up Scotland. We're just never at these tournaments, but trust me, we do. That's why it's such a disappointment for us. But I also think there has to be done with a wee bit of realism. And rather than telling the world you're going to win it all the time, see if they just back them and say, we're supporting this team, we really love the team, yada yada. They could get to the tournament and be more honest. Whereas I think they get there, realise they've went so ball deep on the team that they're the best thing ever, that when they actually start, you know, reality starts dawning on them and they're looking at, say it was 2002, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, and they start going, oh no. What about Beckham's broken foot? Remember the metatarsal gate and all this pish? And it's always a wee sideshow that goes on. I genuinely think it's because the reality that we might not be as good as the rest is too far for them to climb down because they've built them up that high prior to the tournament. If they built them up at a reasonable level, it says a run to the last 4 would be brilliant. A run to the last 8 would be brilliant for this group of players, but there's other great teams there. They would never have to worry that much. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. That's a good point. Something to hide behind when it all goes pear-shaped for them. Yeah, that's. I know what the thing is. This isn't even new because way back in the first Bustalgia episode that we did, we talked about how England didn't qualify for the World Cup that year, and I mentioned there's a documentary out called The Impossible Job that follows Graham Taylor during the '94 World Cup qualifying campaign, and there's a scene in that where he goes to meet with the press, and he actually, before he goes out in front of them, he's talking to the camera crew that are following around for the documentary. He talks about the narrative of the press, and he says there are some out there that just want to write a negative headline, and there's one guy in particular that he basically just points out in the room because the guy's asking a lot of negative-minded questions, and he basically embarrasses the guy in front of the entire room. He's like, come on, smile. Come on, you can do it. And he's like getting on top of the guy, and everyone's kind of like laughing at this guy, and he's trying to like forcefully smile, and then he's like, come on, ask a fucking positive question. He actually swears at him. He's like, come on, go and be positive for a change for once in your life. And it's incredible. And that goes back to 1993. It's probably went on even further back than that as well. But yeah, it's nothing new with English press, just the way they build them up. And yeah, this World Cup, unfortunately, we had the media circus, the sideshow. There was the wives and girlfriends, because Sven-Goran Eriksson had this bright idea to boost morale for the camp that he would bring the wives and girlfriends over and they'd be set up in, it was a town called Baden-Baden in Germany that they were based.
They got up to some Baden things.
They certainly were. But again,
that was his logic.
Aye,
Sven thought it was good to empty your sack. That was the truth.
Well, he was quite notorious for it himself, to be fair.
Aye, he was basically setting a precedent that when he gets busted. Well,
Yeah.
it was all right, he'd set the. But apparently he was a big advocate for them, like getting, getting the leg over the night or 2 nights before, clear the mind and all that,
Oh, it definitely did not work for them, unfortunately, because it ended up just being a total hindrance, a shambolic media circus. I say, you've got total non-stories. Here's the thing, right? When it comes to like the wives and girlfriends footballers, we shouldn't be in a position where we know most of these names off the top of our head, but because of that tournament, Alex Gerrard, Colleen Rooney, Victoria Beckham. Well, Victoria Beckham was a big pop star. Then you had like Abigail Clancy, who was Peter Crouch's girlfriend, and stuff like that. It's because they were just like forced upon you. Now these names, you all know who they are, because the media were just pushing them constantly. So anyway, England have still got a tournament to actually play with this all going on in the background as well.
Yeah.
All of this nonsense, they've actually got a tournament to play. But here's the thing, the tournament started disastrously before it even kicked off, because you just mentioned a metatarsal bone in 2002. Do you remember Wayne Rooney broke his metatarsal before the 2006 World Cup as well against Chelsea?
Yeah, mate, I do.
Yep.
And it was the only 2 times I'd ever heard of that injury before. It was in both World Cups.
Yes, Wayne Rooney and David Beckham. Aye, a metatarsal bone.
Any other time, mate.
It was John. Actually, I remember they played Chelsea. It was maybe like the 3rd or 4th last game of the season at Stamford Bridge. It was John Terry that injured them. So naturally, of course, most people in England don't like John Terry for the best of times. But that was another reason to get him, because he's injured England's best hope to win this tournament. So they actually start the tournament without Rooney actually being fit and able to play in the first couple of games, because he's nursing an injury.
Which is a pity, because when you actually look back, as we obviously did it, pretty close quarters, the Euro 2004, and you think of the impact that Rooney had at that. Whether we like it or not, it's a different thing. Like, we've got to be honest. I mean, he absolutely exploded at that tournament. And I think that's a huge blow, not having that focal point. It's funny as well with this tournament when you look at the forward options, because obviously Alan Shearer's now a distant memory, Phil, even though he's only just retired from professional football. He is a distant memory. But Michael Owen at that tournament to me is like a veteran. He's 26.
Wow. Real Madrid at that point, he signed for Newcastle. Was it the next season he went back to Newcastle?
I would guess he's still at Real Madrid at this point.
Right, okay.
But I mean, he'd seemed that by that point like a fading force. In my mind, anyway.
Yeah, that's
maybe my brain's playing tricks on me because I'm looking back at it. He didn't have that much of an impact from 2006 onwards. But for some reason in my mind, he was a fading force.
It's because he doesn't score at this World Cup. That's why there's no memorable moment at this World Cup for Michael Owen. Because I was about to ask you a wee bit of trivia. Do you know the 4 strikers that Sven-Göran Eriksson took to this tournament?
I would have as a guess.
Yeah, go for it.
I would say Owen, Crouch, Heskey.
No.
Oh, nope. Well, Heskey must have been injured because they picked him for anything. Okay, Vassell.
No, Darius Vassell. The ace up the sleeve has now been thrown in the bin, mate. Darius Vassell. Yeah, it's over, mate. The honeymoon's over.
Crouch, Owen, Rooney.
There was a 4th one.
Oh, it's obviously a wee bit bizarre. Am I right?
The guy didn't play a single minute of the tournament, and it was a real shock when he get picked.
Oh, I like this.
Which further, makes you question Sven-Göran Eriksson's logic in this, because Sven resigns after this tournament, so maybe he just knew that he was leaving and was just like, fuck it. But because
James Beattie?
No, James Beattie. I mean, that's not a bad shout, to be fair, because Beattie was scoring goals at that point for Everton.
Andy Johnson.
No, another good shout, mate. Birmingham City. He was beating Crystal Palace.
Everton as
well. Yep.
I'm on the right track. Is it that sort of?
No, mate. No, mate.
Did he say 40-year-old Teddy Sheringham?
The guy would go on to have a lot of England caps and quite a lot of games in the Premier League. This player.
So he was young at the time?
Yes, he was.
Theo Walcott.
It's Theo, mate. Yeah, Theo Walcott.
Of course,
17-year-old Walcott. He in the 2005-6 season. Yeah.
He's 16.
Aye. The 05-06 season, January window, he signs for Arsenal from Southampton as a 16-year-old. And I don't know, did he play games for Arsenal that second half of the season? I can't remember for definite, but I can remember when the England squad was announced and Phil Walcott was the final player announced, squad number 23, and it was like, everyone was like, are you crazy? Like, what is the even point? He's not even played that much for Arsenal. He's 16-year-old, and he doesn't even get a single minute at the World Cup. Doesn't get a minute.
What is that all about? Like, what is that all about? That just frustrates me. It does frustrate me. If I was an England fan, I know we spent quite a lot of time talking about the English national team on the Bustalgia, but I get why they were the most in your face squad. Do you know what I mean? And the ones that we know the most about, that's the next door neighbouring league, you know. But I always think with England, you look for the options for the 98 World Cup to, you know, maybe even the 2000 Euros to the options up front by the World Cup 2006. And, you know, the options are really, really, like, they've nosedived, mate. Because Robbie Fowler by this point's way past it, you know, past his 30s. Andy Cole's mid-30s, probably still scoring in the Premier League somewhere because that's what he just did forever. But you look at that depth, you know, that they really had strength and depth. When we were talking about it, the 98 World Cup, Sutton missed out and all that, and we were gutted for him. But he'd won the Golden Boot, I think, that year, 97, 98. And like he was behind like 5 or 6 different strikers, whereas now they'd got that bad that there was 3 strikers, and the fourth one was a 16-year-old just taken for a jolly. That's frightening. And I told you, that's not... See, by this point, I think there's a few of them, like Lampard's and Gerrard's, that are maybe, you know, approaching their peak. You know, and Scholes at maybe 31 is maybe sort of... I don't know if he's retired for international...
He retired after Euro 2004. He retired.
I thought that. But you're looking at a lot of the players and thinking, you know, they've missed the boat, and I think they got vital selections wrong in that era between 98 to 2004, Phil. And I think in 2006 there's maybe some left from that golden generation, but they're not at the best from where they'd been before. And the new generation coming through is way down the line in terms of age. So there seems to be a big gulf here between the guys that are maybe early 30s or late 20s, early 30s, that generation. And then the next generation's like under 21s. Yeah. There doesn't seem to have been a middle road. There seems to be a forgotten... Do you know, does that make sense?
It does. Because the thing is, like, you just mentioned a couple of names there that would have been better. James Beattie would have been a better choice at that point in time. Andy Johnson, he scored a ridiculous number of goals for Crystal Palace, I think, the season before. And then I think he was at, you say, Everton. You know, and even guys like, Darius Vassell is obviously gone at this point, but maybe that was what he was thinking with Walcott. This could be my ace up the sleeve. But that would only make sense if you actually used them. But he didn't even play him for a single minute. So to me, it was just like, it was a crazy choice. I say maybe Sven just thought, fuck it, and was just going to do something crazy, but just didn't have the balls to actually see it through in the actual tournament because he was leaving anyway.
I genuinely think it's just a move he's went, do you know what? I've not got options that I need for the tournament, so why not bring someone along and get them the experience of being here? Because I think he could be a future of English football, because that's obviously what he's seen, a prodigal talent, or what he's maybe thought. And you know, that tells you there was a dearth of options. And I mean, I don't feel sorry for them.
Was Kevin Phillips still doing bits at that point?
Oh, I don't know, Phil.
I know it was the early 2000s. He was at his peak with Sunderland, but I can't think.
He would already be out of Sunderland by now. Maybe a West Brom or a Birmingham by now.
Could be something like that.
I think he might even be now already in his yo-yo spell of his career. I know he went on to play till he was about 40. You know, he was another one. You know, like a Celtic link. Now you've said that. He was heavily linked to Celtic. I remember Hugh Keevins on the radio. I was young at the time. It was 2004. And Hugh Keevins saying, if they're looking at Kevin Phillips to replace Henrik Larsson, Kevin Phillips could not lace Henrik Larsson's boots. That's what you're saying. And I thought, fair dues, because it's easy to get carried away with guys who are English and scored goals there. And Hugh Keevins was like, well, they can't be serious looking at Kevin Phillips. You know, you couldn't lace his boots. Instead, obviously, we got Henri. Kamara on loan.
Yeah, we did.
Which,
we did.
You know, I'd rather have had Kevin Phillips, to be honest.
Yeah, to be fair, that probably would have worked a wee bit better for us. But yeah, England's World Cup campaign. So as I say, we've just dissected the forward options. They've got a lot of problems going to the first game. Say Rooney's not fit. Owen's struggling with fitness. Theo Walcott doesn't even he's a ghost at this tournament. So Peter Crouch has to lead the line because Sven does something different at this tournament. He doesn't play 4-4-2 because one of the other aces up the sleeve that they thought they cracked it, because for years it was always Lampard and Gerrard, but no, the ace up the sleeve, this one was Owen Hargreaves was going to be the anchor man, the holding midfielder. They were going to play 4-5-1.
Oh, see, just his accent has to be the worst accent in the fucking history of the world.
It's bad.
I don't even care if he's good at football, but that accent is actually unpalatable. I just can't. I can't deal with it, Phil. I can't listen to a word he says and take it seriously. He would have done man nothing if I was in a huge room with him. Acting like the hard man with a wee sweatband around his wrist. With a worst hairdo as well. I know I'm wanting to talk, right? But his is just confused. It's like gelled back and it's curly and it's like, what are you doing, mate? Like, just nobody. Absolutely nobody cuts a bit like that. And then when he opens his mouth and he starts talking, I'm like, oh, you just get more annoying by the minute. And he was meant to be he was like the midfield enforcer, wasn't he?
Yeah, they were going to play him as the deep line midfielder, which allowed Gerrard maybe to be the sort of free man in the middle, and then Lampard could be the attacking midfielder. So you've got your number 6, your number 8, your number 10, sort of like what it's like now. And then on the left-hand side, they would have Joe Cole, because they finally had a left-sided midfielder. Oh my God, they actually had solved that problem. And David Beckham on the right, but Peter Crouch had to start up front in the first few games as the only striker. Now, the first game, they're absolute dog meat. They beat Paraguay 1-0. It's a free kick from Beckham that's deflected off of one of the defenders into the net. And then they play Trinidad and Tobago in the second game. They take 83 minutes to break the deadlock. Right. Peter Crouch has to tug on the dreadlocks of Brent Sancho, who played for Dundee. Dundee at the time.
Brent Sancho, I remember
Brent
him,
Sancho. Man. Yes, because also Jason Scotland up front, which is also a wee Scotland-like as well.
Yes.
And Dwight York and Russell Latipi were in the team as well. But 83 minutes, Peter Crouch, who's 6'7" anyway, has to give himself a wee bit more leverage. He yanks the ponytail dreadlocks of Brent Sancho to get over him and heads it in. And it's like, Jesus.
That's right. That's right.
83 minutes.
Big Brent Sancho's like that. I've got to deal with Chris Sutton every week, mate. I don't need to deal with Diddy's like Peter Crouch.
Fine.
But Trinidad and Tobago took. Am I right in thinking Dwight York had already resorted to being a holding midfielder by this point for Trinidad and Tobago?
I think he had, it rings a bell.
Remember, he played for Sunderland in the Premier League under Roy Keane. Holding midfielder in the Championship when they won it, and then holding midfielder. Dwight York as a holding midfielder is an insane career transition. When you look at players and you go, like, that's the equivalent now of looking at, I don't know. Like, say that Gabriel Jesus who just signed for Arsenal. He'll be pulling the strings for West Brom in 10 years' time in midfield. You'd be like, what? You just can't see that. I don't know. I just never seen that coming. And Russell Latipi or Latapi, whatever folk want to call it, potato. But Russell Latipi would have been 37, 38. But I think you're right. I'm sure he does go to the World Cup.
Does indeed die. And I'm pretty
sure he's playing Premier League football in Scotland for Falkirk at this point, if you remember.
Oh yeah, Falkirk, that's right.
Where he basically, a lot of the Portuguese lads used to drink in the same nightclub as I did. Honestly, mate, you just go up to them and go, I would just go like, he's a fuck. Because you knew they would always be they act like they were showing off, And because it was March 2006, the Smoking Man came in. So it was like that season, but Falkirk it was Vitor Lima, Thiago and Jorge Leitao. Or was it Jorge Leitao or João Leitao or something? Up top. Or Matinho, was it João Matinho? Oh, whatever his name was. Up top. And then, but Russell Latipi was pulling the strings. But apparently, because I spoke to one of them outside, right, he was steaming. I'm like, you train tomorrow in that? And he's like, aye. He's like, who cares? He goes, Russell Latipi, he goes, he just shows up when he wants.
Yeah.
I was like, so they don't worry about us. And it was Celtic connection. Yogi Hughes was in charge at that time.
Yeah, okay.
But it was him who convinced Latipi to keep going at Falkirk and be his main man.
Oh, okay, right. Actually, I can remember that whole era. But yeah, he does go to this World Cup.
Latipi was bringing Dwight York up to Falkirk and that at this time.
So he was, yeah, I remember
Mate, they were on nights out in Falkirk. Like, I know folk who've bumped into like both of them.
Wow.
Like, Dwight York's a multi-millionaire, a household name throughout, I don't know, you could say world football to an extent. You know, he's got a bit up the Martel in Falkirk.
Oh, what?
Brilliant.
Oh, man.
Brilliant. Sorry, I went off on a wee tangent.
No, that's fine. I say, they were talking about Trinidad and Tobago, but yeah, I say Brent Sancho, you know, the 6'7" Peter Crouch has to resort to pulling the hair of Dundee defender Brent Sancho to head the ball in. Steven Gerrard makes it 2-0, but so far, England, yeah, okay. I mean, I can see Blue Barry said in the comments, 2 wins out of 2, what's the problem? Well, the fact is, the problem is they've been built up. They're England. They're playing Ecuador, Paraguay, they play Ecuador later, and Trinidad and Tobago. They shouldn't be scraping past these teams, especially with the superstars they've got. But anyway, a couple underwhelming performances. They move on to play Sweden in the final game. And this game, I also remember, other than for Henrik equalising, but before that, Joe Cole scores an absolute amazing goal. I will give it to him. It is unbelievable. Chase it down outside the box and unleashes an amazing volley that dips in at the back post. Genuinely at the time when it went, I was like, wow, that is one of the best goals I'd ever seen at a World Cup. That was astounding, that strike. Oh,
a joke. An absolute joke of a strike. In fairness, Sweden look like they've cleared their lines. Even the header itself isn't a Joe Cole sitting, you know, sitting waiting at the edge of the box, you know, centrally. He's way off centre. The ball's the header clearance. No one is it expecting him just to chest it and hit the volley like that. And even the nature of the volley is so unusual. It's very deliberate, by the way. You've got to give Joe Cole his due. I mean, it's not like this is a Ronaldinho moment from the 2002 World Cup where there's a wee bit of debate. Did he mean it? Did he not? Yeah. This is all very deliberately struck, so it goes up high and dips. And I think the goalkeeper's made to look stupid, but I don't actually think he's done anything wrong.
Oh, no, totally. There's very little you can do. It's
but
one of those old classics. Yeah. One of the classics, so you put 2 goalkeepers in and they probably won't see, because it's it's an amazing volley. It's not the best volley at this World Cup, though. We'll get onto that later. But yeah, it's an absolutely stupendous goal. And funny enough, the game's at 1-1, and England score a very late goal to go 2-1 up. Steven Gerrard scores ahead at the back post. It looks like England are going to win, get maximum points in this group until the 90th minute. It's a long throw to the Swedes. There's carnage in the box. There's a lot of chaos going on. And Henrik Larsson nips in there. It's probably the ugliest goal Henrik Larsson will ever score in his life. But he bundles it in. And finally, Henrik Larsson gets his goal against the English. It's about time. But funny enough, the next season coming up, he would have a spell at Manchester United and get himself an English Premier League winners medal. A very shrewd signing by Alex Ferguson. But yeah, that was Henrik Larsson's moment. He was waiting for it. In the 2002 World Cup, they played England, and yeah, Larsson didn't score there, but yeah, he finally gets it in this one. He denies England all 3 points by snatching it right at the death in stoppage time.
He actually runs away celebrating as well, like he has won the World Cup. Like, I'm like, you couldn't see someone's like deep down Scottishness come out in them more.
Yeah,
but Henrik may as well have been wearing a navy blue jersey. Do you know what I mean? Because he tears away. Absolutely, like, trust me. And I'm like, oh, Henrik's like the mask slip a wee bit there. Look, he's going, and it's not just because it's 100% because it's against them. Blue Baron, by the way, Phil. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to be talking to TNF about transfer fees and release clauses and just what they mean. Because they told us it was a 10 million release clause, Phil. Why on earth would you put add-ons on it? Why would you need to? If you've triggered a release clause,
there's a new word, Russell. There's a new word doing the rounds at the media, and now it's package. Package is the word. This is Rangers have accepted a £10 million package for Joe Aribo. I noticed Jim White was pushing that one today.
Yeah, his release clause is £10 million, so there's no need to put add-ons on it. So that they don't just let sell-on clauses and add-ons go on if they've met the release clause. So if the release clause is 10 million, there's no add-ons required. So trust me, it ain't £10 million. We all know it. So I think it's good that, again, though, the opposite side of the city, Phil, refuse ever to question anything about their own team. They just look from things and say, nah, not listening. Whereas at least the good thing about us Celtic fans is we constantly scrutinise and evaluate what our club's doing. And that's why they get left behind. Sorry, Phil. I just think a wee teaser for tomorrow.
Yeah,
we can have some fun with that.
Yeah, definitely will. The package deal. But yeah, onwards with England. So they get through. They do still top the group. They finish first. Sweden are second. They go through and play Ecuador in the next round. And again, it's another sluggish performance against a team that they should be doing better against. But maybe there's that whole thing about maybe they're growing into the tournament. Maybe a big performance is just around the corner. They scrape by Ecuador 1-0. David Beckham scores a free kick. And then we get the rematch from Euro 2004. It's England against Portugal again in the quarterfinals. It's a pretty drab game compared to the 2004 classic. It's a 0-0 draw, but it will always be remembered for the controversial Wayne Rooney moment where he stands on Ricardo Carvalho, basically on his groin, and Cristiano Ronaldo comes over and seems to fuel the referee's decision, because the referee originally just gives a free kick and he points, free kick. But then it's when Ronaldo comes over and starts shouting at the referee. Suddenly he's like, "Oh, Rooney, come here," and books him. Or no, sorry, sends him off straight red. So that's how Rooney's came back from the injury. And then, of course, yes, he winked at the bench. It was caught on camera. And you mentioned earlier on about Alan Shearer. Do you remember Alan Shearer's reaction on BBC on the punditry after the game?
Nope.
I know you love Alan Shearer. I know you love him.
I'm already raging at whatever his reaction was.
Yeah, because I literally watched this clip earlier just to refresh my head because it's on YouTube. So at the time, they hadn't picked up on that. It was after the game. The England players are all on the ground. They're all gutted and stuff. And Gary Lineker, they did somber attitude in the studio and they're analysing it, and then they play the Rooney red card and all the debacle that goes on, and then they get the close-up of the wink towards the bench, and then they're all in the studio, did he just wink at him there? And then Shearer says, "I'll tell you what, I would not be surprised if Wayne Rooney goes back to Man United training at the start of the season, sticks one on him." And then he kind of has to calm himself down, like he was going to say something a bit more, but he's like, no, he doesn't say it.
Bit of insight, though, into who Alan Shearer, the player, was in his own training ground. This is a guy who spat the dummy if he wasn't playing. This is the guy that gets called Mr. Newcastle, yet if he was dropped for one game, he wanted revolts against the manager and things. This is the guy who thought it was cool to try and fight with Craig Bellamy. This is the guy who stamped on Neil Lennon's neck. And I've read Lenny's book. And I don't know how we're talking about Neil Lennon again, but genuinely, in his book, he says, Alan Shearer, he goes, the reason I've got no respect for that man is because he never apologized for it.
Wow.
How sad is that, though? Why would you not, you've got to be man enough to look at that and go, oof. When you look at that back, it's a disgrace, which it's so deliberate. He just stomps in his neck. He refused to apologize to Neil Lennon. That is a disgrace.
Yes.
I wonder if English media, if any of them said, he probably brought that on himself, Phil.
No, they did not. They did not, man.
I don't think so.
But yeah, this is the beginning of the sort of hatred towards Cristiano Ronaldo, from the English media. But yeah, Alan Shearer sits in the studio and basically encourages Wayne Rooney to, do some violence on Cristiano Ronaldo when he gets back to
that's what
Carrington.
He would have done.
That's what he probably would have done. But yeah, he has to kind of calm himself down because he realises he might have overstepped the mark of what he just said, because now he's trying to be a serious media pundit. So he's like, because it's 2006, he's still got hair at this point, and he's only just freshly retired. But yeah, he has to calm himself down. But yeah, England, of course, have just lost on penalties. We actually talked about it in the last episode. We did all the English penalty misses. But yeah, this one is probably the worst penalty performance, where they had Gerrard, Lampard, and Carragher all missed. Although Carragher originally scores his penalty, the referee makes him retake it. And he misses the second time around. So yeah, it was not a good one. And also, remember in the last episode, we were talking about Ricardo, the Portuguese goalkeeper. He's back in this one. And I got a bit mixed up because this is incredible how this happened. Man United did have a goalkeeper named Ricardo at the time, but it wasn't him. It was a Spanish goalkeeper named Ricardo at the exact same time that this Ricardo was playing, because we were talking about him last week. I was going, oh yeah, maybe that was at Man United, because I was sure he was the goalkeeper, the backup goalie, before Tim Howard. And then it's I looked it up on Wikipedia and I was like, they did have a Ricardo, but yeah, a totally different one, a Spanish one apparently. This guy, he played for Leicester City. the Portuguese Ricardo. He had a spell at Leicester later in his career, so he did play in England at some point. But yeah, Man United actually had a Ricardo as well at the exact same time.
One.
Different one, Spanish guy.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Because I was like that last week. I was like, was he? I was confused by that. I'm pretty sure I'm well versed on this Ricardo that I'm talking about.
Yeah,
he was at Man United.
I came away from it going, I'm so certain they had Ricardo. But I looked at Wiki, they did have a goalkeeper named Ricardo, but it wasn't that guy. It was a Spanish one. So I was like, but it was exactly the same time, 2003, 2004. We were there. So I was like, fuck, so it is. But yeah, England are out again. It's another penalty shootout defeat. It's another one where they're asking all the questions of what went wrong. I see this time they've got a fall guy and stuff like that. They've got obviously the Cristiano Ronaldo. He would be subjected to all sorts of abuse, but he would just brush it off and go on to become one of the best players in the world. But yeah, as we said earlier on, there was afterwards the hindsight sets in and they're like, maybe it wasn't a good idea to have all the hullabaloo around the wags and stuff like that. And it's like, no shit, Sherlock. Really? Do you think? All that distraction. But yeah, when you look at this England team compared to the ones from 2 years ago, this one is just slightly better in terms of like some of the players, because Ferdinand wasn't playing at the last one, but he's in the team this time. Joe Cole, they've sorted the left side of midfield. So it looks like it's an even better team, but compared to the 2004 team, I say they limped through this tournament and then went out on penalties again. Just an absolute shit show from start to finish for England.
Yeah.
Standards.
And Sven's record doesn't stand up very well.
No.
With that England team. But again, you've got to also contrast and compare that with the opposition they were against, which I just think the English media failed to do at any stage. They just look at their own team. They just look at the Premier League. They've got no concept, no perception of how good Serie A is, how good La Liga is, how good the Bundesliga is, because all they constantly want to push is the narrative of best league in the world, best league in the world, best league in the world. Well, okay, let's just give you that title, right? Sound. Does that mean that other leagues are all shit, though? And you should be pig ignorant to them? And that's the big difference, Phil. What about how good, then, is the second best league in the world? How good is the third best league in the world? Who's the best players in those leagues? Because the fact of the matter is, when you look back at these eras, Phil, we're going to get to the champions of this tournament, that Italy team. Whose squad would you rather have, Italy's or England's? Give me Italy's every day of the week. Yet that is not what you're led to believe going into this tournament.
And every single one of the Italian players were all based in Italy. Every one of them. Even when Serie A, it's not the strongest league at that point, realistically. It's way past the 90s glory days. Every single player in the Italian squad based in Italy and end up winning the tournament. But anyway, we'll move on from England's woes, because I say we seem to touch on them every tournament. Luckily, though, Euro 2008, England aren't there. None of the home nations are at Euro 2008, so how are we going to talk about England in Euro 2008? We'll figure it out somehow, but we'll move on to the next one.
Carson cost them, didn't he?
The Wally with the Brawley.
Yes. We've got plenty to talk about. Plenty.
But yeah, we'll move on to the next talking point, which is a notorious game. Now, way back when we did the first Bustalgia episode, we spoke about the dark side of the tournament. We've kind of not had really dark moments in all the tournaments since then, but this tournament has got a game that is synonymous. It is officially the most dirtiest game in World Cup history. Now, obviously, myself and Russell were a bit young. We don't remember back in the days. I'm sure there'll be a few folk in the comments that remember Celtic playing Racing Club Argentina, I think it was.
Atletico
Madrid, very dirty games. But in terms of World Cups, this game holds the record. There is a grand total of 9 yellow cards handed out to Portuguese players and 2 red cards. There are 7 yellow cards handed out to Dutch players and 2 red cards. It is an absolute shit show. So yeah, before Portugal got to knock out England in the quarterfinals, they played the Netherlands in the second round. The Portugal had come through a pretty easy group by their standards with Angola, Mexico, and Iran. Netherlands, however, had a pretty tricky group with Argentina, Ivory Coast, and Serbia and Montenegro. That is actually one team. That's not 2 teams. So if that's a Russian referee, Valentin Ivanov, because Serbia and Montenegro become Serbia for the next tournament. They evolved from Yugoslavia to Serbia, Montenegro, then Serbia. That's where it comes to the whole Stankovic thing, where he's played for 3 countries technically at the World Cup. And it's like, well, it's actually the same country, but it's been renamed 3 times. But yeah, it goes down officially. So That's what it is. So Russian referee Valentin Ivanov is going to take charge of this game.
Am I right, just very quickly, in thinking Serbia and Montenegro got beat, is it 7-0 off Argentina?
6-0, yeah.
6.
Close on that one.
Sorry, when I see them in it, because that Argentina side absolutely blew them apart. Sorry, Phil.
They scored an amazing goal with Cambiasso, the great team goal with all the passing.
Aye, the wee back heeled by Crespo right before it. Oh, so good. So good.
Phenomenal. But so we've got a Russian ref in charge. So the game's in Nuremberg on the 25th of June 2006. And it is notoriously bad-tempered. Now, both these teams had played at Euro 2004 in the semi-final, and I don't remember that much bad blood. I just remember it just being a probably standard game of football between two decent teams. But this game, from the very first minute, Mark Van Bommel cops a booking for a horrendous challenge. I can't remember who it is that's running down the wing, but he absolutely does him from behind, cops a booking. And then Ronaldo, Khalid Boularus, remember that centre-back? He played for Chelsea. He basically is a high boot right on Ronaldo's thigh, to the point where Ronaldo's actually on the ground crying as he gets subbed at one point as well, because he's so battered and bruised. But I don't know what set it off, but it is ridiculous. I watched the montage earlier on YouTube of like all the tackles in the game, and it was just like, how has this happened? Like, what the hell is going on here? But Russell, do you remember like this game at the time, the Battle of Nuremberg?
No, I mean, totally. It's weird because obviously the Portugal side has guys now that are getting pretty streetwise. Where a core of them have played they've won UEFA Cup 2003, Champions League 2004, the Porto sides. I think there's guys now dispersing into every corner of European football. Obviously, there's a bit of an iconic Portuguese manager at this point as well.
Mourinho's Chelsea side, a few of them played for them, and we know what he was like with that Chelsea team.
It doesn't surprise me so much. The Dutch, slightly different.
Yeah.
Slightly different. Now, you're looking at the players that were sent off, Phil. Obviously, it was a wee baby card that Gio got, he was just sitting in for 2 minutes. He was going told to go sit in his high chair for 2 minutes. Bless me, Gio. But Boularus was also sent off. Boularus, obviously, was of Chelsea.
He was, he was Chelsea
as well. Yeah. So Mourinho's got an eye for this type of player. Boularus also linked heavily with Celtic a couple of years later.
Another one? Wow.
Yeah, he was. Boularus, I remember reading about it in one of the papers. Boularus was, he was strongly linked to Celtic at one point to come in because he was out of favour at Chelsea, so he's been affordable. But Boularus, he was it's no surprise to his name. Gio, though, I mean, I don't know what he is doing, biting someone's ankles, I presume, but I don't know what
I get yourself right at the end. There's Deco and Costinha get sent off for the Portuguese, Boularus and Van Bronckhorst are sent off for Holland. But in the end, there are a grand total of 20 cards are shown, 16 yellows and 4 reds. It is officially in the World Cup record books as the dirtiest game that's ever been. After the game, apparently, Sepp Blatter said that the referee should have gave himself a booking. He was that bad. It's quite interesting coming from Sepp Blatter with all that corruption. But I can remember, because in amongst this madness that's going on, Portugal actually win the game 1-0. Manish scores the only goal in the first half.
Yeah, and it's very similar to a goal he scored in the group stage as well. It's that busting through that he does, Manish, so well. Like that, times that late run, takes a touch and explosive finish. He was a good player at this point.
Yep.
Am I freezing again?
You froze briefly there. I was just about to say, Manish, was he at Chelsea at that point as well?
I don't know. He may well have been.
Yeah.
He may well have been. I liked him as a player, Manish.
Good player. He was actually good. And he scored an absolute worldie against Holland in the semi-final in 2004 from outside the box, bent it into the far corner. He was good from distance, that boy. But this game, I can remember at the time, was just absolute carnage, just a really ugly game of football. And you touched on it, and that was one of the things I was going to bring up about this Portuguese team. A lot of the players were becoming quite streetwise because of the stuff with Porto. But I think at the time, going into it, a lot of neutrals, me included, would be like, oh yes, man, Netherlands and Portugal, that's two good teams, But I think public opinion really started to sway on Portugal after this, where people began to open their eyes a wee bit to their streetwise, their dark arts. Because the previous game we talked about with the England-Portugal game, all the pundits, and it's not just out of bitterness, I think, that they've just lost, but all of them are like, this Portugal team's not going to win the World Cup.
Well, I've got another theory now, Phil. I've got another theory. See, when we actually look back at what we were talking about last week on Bustalgia, right? see when you think about it, do you not think Portugal took a wee bit from the defeat that they got to Greece and the style that Greece did to beat them? They also enter this tournament with a severe chip on their shoulder as well. And now that then you can combine that with a heck of a lot of that squad, or a core of that squad anyway, that now have experience lifting silverware of the grandest scale and now have experience in other top flight leagues winning trophies as well. You know, like your Chelsea group, for example, things like this. I wonder if a bit of Portugal's needle is based on the fact no more Mr. Nice Guy. We got shafted the last time by a Greek team that we should never have lost to.
I like that. I really like that. I mean, that's good. I never even thought of that. That's fucking genius, man. Because, yeah, no more Mr. Nice Guy, but it's just like...
called Genius by Phil McGinlay.
Yeah, that is, man. Because, yeah, they would have, obviously, they took an absolute a black eye for that one, but they probably have...
Mate. I'm tough for that. Phil McGinlay called me a genius.
It's a great theory. Because, yeah, they would have definitely walked away from that and thought, well, that's how to do it. And they have got better players anyway at the core, but then they're like, well, we'll just play real shithousery. Because to this day, Portugal are renowned for shithousery, even to this day. And I think it goes back to this sort of game, you know, and it's like, even look at them winning the Euros in 2016. They won that glamorous neither, despite having a real crop of great players. I think after the debacle with Greece, they have genuinely just thought, nah, whatever it takes to do it, we'll just do it. And they say Mourinho inspiration and stuff like that as well. So yeah, it can all kind of be tied back to this area. That is a great theory, mate. I like that. I rate it 10 out of 10, mate. Thoroughly like that.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, mate.
Oh,
just off the cuff, mate. Just off the cuff, just like that.
Gary Brown says actually promoted Russell, mate. There you go, mate. That's it, man. Yeah, man, it's but that game is just, I say, synonymous, and it's officially the dirtiest game ever. So yeah, a wee bit of dark side of the World Cup, but also a wee fun fact, a wee bit of a joke from this World Cup. Do you remember English referee Paul Duncan booking a player 3 times before he sent him off?
That's right.
Croatia and Australia.
That's right.
That's
right. Wow.
A player named Josip Simunic, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, he was booked 3 times, and on the 3rd time, Paul Duncan realised his error and sent him off. And yeah, he conveniently got dropped as a Grade 1 FIFA referee after that tournament, funny enough. But yeah, Paul Duncan was the hapless referee that made that clanger. But we're on the subject of referees. I say the referee for this game, Ivanov, said Blether said he should have given himself a booking for his performance. But yeah, so the tournament had a few mad moments when it came to officiating. But yeah, that one always stood out at the 2006 World Cup where Paul Duncan booking a player 3 times. Oops. So
it's embarrassing.
Aye. Amazing that none of the Australian players even thought to tell him. By the way, that guy's been booked twice now. Nobody even spotted it. So the guy just got away, but it was on the 3rd time he realised, oh shit, I've no setting him off. But yeah, I can always remember that one from that one.
That's right. No, I'd forgotten about that, Phil. That's good. Yeah. That is very good. Very good.
Now, you brought up a minute ago about talking Portugal taking inspiration because they feel they've been wronged. And I like that because I like a good seamless link, because the next talking point is something that I was thinking about. Nothing personal, just business. Because in the words of any good mafia film, it's nothing personal, just business. Italy in 2002 and 2004 definitely feel they got wronged. There's probably a stronger case for it in 2002 when you look at all the theories. 2004 probably got themselves to blame for an underwhelming performance, but they go into this World Cup with a chip on their shoulder. They're like, hey, we're Italy. You know, we need to get our shit together. You know, we're better than this. But of course, this is also going on with the backdrop of all sorts of mad controversy, because this is the summer when Juventus, I talked about it at the start of the show, Juve get caught up in it was a referee-related scandal where it turned out themselves, and there was a few other teams caught up in it, including Fiorentina, Lazio, Regina, AC Milan, were all involved in it, where they were able to pick favourable referees. So the 2004, 2005...
I don't understand. Phil, could you explain to me what would be a favourable referee to a club? And if you have any examples off the top of your head, that would be really good, just so I can get an idea of what a favourable referee would be portrayed as, because we don't get anything like that in Scotland. So it'd just be really good if you could, open my eyes and enlighten me as to what a club's favourable referee would be?
Well, mate, this will blow your mind even more. Not only can I explain that to you, I can also tell you what the punishment was for it, which will really blow your mind, mate. Really blow your mind. So, yes, some phone call interceptions were made by Italian police with communications between Juventus mostly and the Italian FA about specific referees that they wanted to referee their games because they had a leaning towards Juventus. I say there were other clubs that were caught up in it as well, like Fiorentina, Milan, Lazio, but Juve benefited the most. And the punishment for it was they were stripped of the 2004-2005 Serie A and the 2005-2006. Now, the 04-05 one was just left null and void. It wasn't given to anybody. It was just, you look up the history books, nobody won the league in 05. The 05-06 one was basically given to Inter Milan, who finished second, and Juventus were relegated and sent down to Serie B.
Yep.
At the time, do you remember as well that I think there was a few big name players like Buffon and Del Piero out of loyalty decided to stick with Juventus. They did. Nedved, yep, they did. And I can remember Del Piero did an interview and they asked, why are you staying? And he went, it's a few new away grounds to visit. That was his sort of gallus way of putting it. But yeah, they went down to Serie B, they scalped everybody and they were back up in the top flight within a season. Was it really a fitting punishment? No, really. At the end of the day, Juventus still retained most of their players and they were back in the top flight a year later. Fiorentina originally got punished as well and get relegated to Serie B, but on appeal, they get put back into Serie A, but with a 19-point deduction. So that was their punishment. Milan, Lazio, and Regina just basically got fines for it. But yeah, that was
the thing was, Fiorentina then faced the real penalty of what liquidation is. Phil, you know? That's
right. Fiorentina liquidated along with teams like Parma as well. They've faced liquidation too. Yep, they've been established a few times now, I think. Parma definitely have. Parma have been so broke they had to pawn their UEFA Cups and stuff like that. They had to sell them. That's mental. Italian football is nuts, by the way. Absolutely crazy. But you know what the weirdest bit about this is? All of this is going on. See, in 1982, when Italy the last won the World Cup, there was also a football scandal going on in their own country. So it seems like when something scandalous is going on in Italy, they seem to do pretty well when their back's to the wall. Because in 82, the thing was, again, it was all match fixing related. And one of the players that was caught up in it was striker Paolo Rossi, who was banned for 3 years from 1980 to 1983. But on appeal, he was allowed to serve only 2 years of the ban, which allowed him to play in the 1982 World Cup. And he basically led Italy to glory that year, winning them the trophy. He was like the talisman up front. And it's like, so that's 2 World Cups that Italy have won where something mad's going on in the background. I mean, was there something crazy going on in 2021 in Italy where they won the Euros? Was there a scandal going on there? Because it just seems like they do well. They seem to do well. It just seems to get them going. But yeah, they've basically decided that there's no more Mr. Nice Guy. We're going to have to go back to our shithousery, dark arts type thing. Because Italy have always been notorious for, they know how to defend and see a game out. And we even saw it in the Euros last year. That bit where Saka's breaking through a goal and Chiellini just goes, yoink, pulls his shirt. Like, where you going, son? It's like, you ain't getting anywhere. So they do stuff like that all the time. But yeah, they went back to their roots for this one and thought, nah, we're not fucking around this time. We're going to make sure we get the results by any means necessary. So
they were, go on.
No, on you go, mate.
Well, no, because I don't know if you get there or not. I was just going to say, talking about, that scandal, that one of the main beneficiaries of that was Cannavaro leaves Juventus, I believe it is.
He does, yeah.
And joins Real Madrid.
He does.
At 33 years old, or just approaching his 33rd birthday, because I'm sure he was born, I'm going to guess the 10th of September 1973, mate. Not even going to, I actually think I'm close to the date, the full date, not even just the... Check it, mate.
I'll take it to VAR, mate. I'm quite confident you probably got it, mate.
It's September. I would put my life on it. He was born in September 73.
13th of September. You're that close, mate. 13, 3 days out, man. Good work. Good work.
But so he was 32, but his World Cup is a joke. He steps up, in my opinion, from the shadow of Maldini, if you like. And he is now the #1 Italian defender. And by the way, that's not said lightly.
No,
there is
definitely
still
not.
Strong competition to be Italy's #1 centre half or defender. You've got obviously Nesta. That is just the next name you instantly think of.
Yeah.
Then you've got Materazzi, who I know you'll be touching on later. But you've got the likes of Panucci. You know, there were players left, right, and centre. Italy have always generated the best defenders. But for me, Cannavaro, he stepped up this World Cup. He became a real captain, Phil, an inspiration. And did it all at what, 5'9", 5'10"?
Real short centre back, and unbelievable. You'll remember this, Russ. Remember in the 1990s, the advertising billboards you would see around cities, and it was like the easiest job in Europe, the Italian goalkeeper, and I had a picture of Paolo Maldini next to it. It was like a Nike advert. Yep, that's right. So it was because Italy.
Maldini said, he said, if I've had to make a tackle, it's because I've already made a mistake.
Okay.
That was Maldini's philosophy. You shouldn't even need to make a tackle. If I've had to make a tackle, it's because I've already made a mistake. You're like, fucking hell. If you're playing by that standard, no wonder you get to those levels. You know what I mean?
Different gravy, that guy, man. Absolutely incredible. Rolls Royce centre back. But yeah, Cannavaro, as you say, mate, not even the tallest centre back, but Jesus Christ, he's unbelievable in this tournament. The captain Italy as well.
And the shaved head?
He's got a shaved head in this one.
Got to talk about this, Phil. I think it's all mindset sometimes. Cannavaro is one of those guys you associate with no, I don't mean greasy in a bad way. I mean, it's deliberately wettened.
Yeah.
And then
he had the hairband as well, didn't he?
Wax. The hairband, you know, and it's all meant to be long. That's how you associate him and Nesta. I think there's a character change that happens with people with their hairstyles or their appearance and things like that. Sometimes in other walks of life, it could be the clothes that you wear and things. And I do believe that his shaved head it's a new era, and it's Cannavaro's now, Italy. Maldini's gone, and it's a new me. Now he's captain. It's like he's and I could be reading too much into it, but who cares? This is brilliant. It's romance of a story. I wonder if it was very much him getting into a new role, and so it had to be a new version of him that you were seeing. Because I did not associate Cannavaro with a shaved head. That wasn't what he looked like, mate. No. We've watched him for a decade by now, being an awesome centre half. He was always with a big long hair. That he definitely, I think, has took on a new persona, a new image, a new character because of the new responsibilities he was given, and he's heralding a new era. And I honestly think it's all deliberate stuff like that. I really do.
It could be that, and also you can, if you're going to read into it as well, it could be again because their backs to the wall. These are Juventus players. Because you know who's another player you don't associate with being bald, but he was bald at this tournament. Alessandro Del Piero had a skin head as well. Because when he scores the goal against Germany in the semi-final, amazing counter that, he's bald. But they're two Juventus' top players that have just had this scandal. They've been punished by the Italian FA. See, Italy are going at this tournament with a new attitude where they're like, nah, we're going to do what it takes to win. So it could be like a sort of...
what's it Mourinho calls it? When you get into
siege mentality.
Siege tip. How the fuck did you know I was going to say that? That is
siege exactly under siege, mate.
Did he do that again? That was like reading my mind. Like, just get there, boys, to pluck. But that's exactly what I was going to say. A siege mentality.
Siege. But no, it could be something like that as well. Because I see Del Piero, he didn't associate with being bald. You always associate him with the long locks as well. Yep, he was bald for this tournament, and he hasn't rocked that look any other time in his career. So specifically this World Cup. But Italy are drawn into a group, quite a favourable one for their standards, with Ghana, USA, and Czech Republic. But then again, given what's happened to them in recent years, they can't really take anything for granted. But they start with a 2-0 win against Ghana. However, if things get nasty in the second game against the USA, they can only manage a 1-1 draw. But the game is remembered for Daniela De Rossi absolutely cleaning out Brian McBride, the USA striker, with an elbow to the face that leaves McBride with blood basically gushing from the side of his eye. He had to get stitches. Daniela De Rossi obviously sent off. Ends up he's suspended for 4 games, which should allow him to be back just in time for the final, should Italy get there, which of course they did. But yeah, I can remember the game against the USA and remember the crimson mask, as JR would say, that Brian McBride was wearing, because it was like Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13, mate. He had the blood all over his face. But yeah, De Rossi, absolutely, he did not miss him with that one, with the elbow to the side of the head.
No,
like,
he didn't. He didn't.
No,
He
nasty side. But yeah, he gets fined for £4,500 and he's suspended for 4 matches. But yeah, Italy then go on to beat Czech Republic 2-0, and that gets them top in the group. So they head into the next round and they're playing Australia, who of course have made it to the second round for the first time. And this is a controversial game because it's 0-0 until the 94th minute. And then one of the stars of the tournament, without a shadow of doubt, but this was definitely a dark moment for him, Fabio Grosso, the left back, takes a scandalous dive. I think it might be Lucas Neal, maybe was the player, the Australian player that went to tackle him. He doesn't get anywhere near him, and Grosso does a really theatrical fall to the ground. It's a penalty in the 94th minute, upsteps Francesco Totti and converts it to put Italy through to the quarterfinals. But yeah, I can remember the absolute rage, and it wasn't even just from the Australians, it was like world football were absolutely seething at this, that Italy would stoop so low to do that, such a thing. But it's long before the days of VAR, but yeah, I remember it very, very well, Russell.
Absolutely, mate. Totti's another one that's interesting when we've done this series because I don't know why. He's just a player that I don't associate that much in an Italy jersey, always in a Roma jersey. I've said that before to you.
Yeah.
Yet, the more we've looked at the tubes, he scores at all of them.
Yeah.
And yet I don't remember. Like, I don't know why. It's so odd. But I just don't remember. I just don't remember him.
Again, it could be just because he's played for Roma roles. All you can think about is Totti in a Roma shirt. That's it. But yeah, he's like the classic number 10 for Italy at this tournament because Del Piero doesn't start every game. It's Totti that starts every game in the whole.
Yeah. I think Totti was a far better player than Del Piero by this point, and probably in general anyway. I think he was a better player. Del Piero was he's very, very best in his early 20s and the 90s. That is when he was at his best.
Yeah.
He definitely. By the time he was 28, 29, he wasn't always a regular. If you remember when Celtic played Juventus and we beat them 4-3, that actually wasn't full strength Juventus. I don't know if you remember that from the time.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't know exactly, but yeah, it was the last game and they qualified, didn't they?
They'd already qualified. So it was like Takanardi was playing, I remember. There was other players that were definitely not first team. Trezeguet didn't always start for Juventus at this point. He did not always start for them. Del Piero starting was because he was not a regular fixture in the team then either as a starter. So I always remember. It was mad with Del Piero because then he had a renaissance in his sort of very mid to late 30s. Mid to late 30s, he seemed to become this, more effective player again. But trust me, do you know Del Piero reminds me of to an extent, although far sounder. And I don't mean personality, but it's like Ryan Giggs' career. Don't forget, see the 1999 Champions League final, Giggs is 26 by this point? Right? He doesn't start left wing, mate.
It was Blomqvist that started, wasn't it? Yes, but
Blomqvist starts, and Blomqvist is by this point. See, if you actually look at that treble winning year, see the goal he scores against Arsenal? He's came on as a sub, mate. That's where that energy is.
Yeah, okay.
He's not started that game, mate. I always remember Giggs kind of got to his late 20s and kind of looked like he was a fading force and then seemed to reinvent himself as well when he's sort of mid to late 30s and became like this myth all over again. I think Del Piero was very much like that. Del Piero dipped for quite a bit in his peak years, mate, honestly. And he certainly was by no means an Italy starter at this World Cup. By no means.
No, definitely
I was surprised. See, when you actually look back, I think he was doing well to get in that 2006 World Cup squad. I think he was doing pretty well.
So he's just fresh off the back of being sent down to Serie B. But yeah, he was obviously brought as a sub for this tournament. But yeah, he has an impact in a couple of games' time. But they beat Ukraine 3-0 in the quarterfinals. But then in the semi-final that everybody remembers, this is an iconic game. So they're up against a very resurgent Germany, who we've talked about in the previous Bustalgias, who are going through a transitional period where they've decided to rip it all up and start again. But this tournament, you're starting to see the little sprouts coming through the ground now of what they've decided, the seeds they've planted. Because Jürgen Klinsmann's the manager for this one with
Joachim Löw.
Is that how it's pronounced? Is it because it's happy to call him Yogi Love and stuff like that? Is it Wacky
Joachim Löw?
Yeah.
I just call him Joachim Löw.
Joachim Löw, because he's the assistant manager who would take over because Klinsmann would go on and manage the USA But yeah, Wacky Mo takes over. But yeah, the German team are starting to show promise with Podolski and Klose and stuff like that. But yeah, they've got through to the semi-finals, so the country's buzzing. They're playing Italy, who it turns out Germany, I believe, have never beaten Italy in any semi-finals. I think that's like a running thing, but they still haven't beat them. But yeah, it happens again. Italy, it's 0-0 after 90 minutes. We're deep into extra time. There's no more golden goal anymore. That's all gone, and there's no silver goal.
Yes.
But in the 119th minute, Fabio Grosso scores a superb goal from outside the box, bends it in with his left foot. I think it clips the post on the way in as well, doesn't it?
Fabio Grosso, a player who was struggling to get first-team football only 4 or 5 years before that, in his mid-20s. I mean, by this tournament, Grosso was 28, 29.
So he's easily the best left back at the tournament. If you're doing a team of the tournament, Grosso is like the standout. He's
mate, honestly, where was he 3-4 years before that? Unheard of, unknown. Unknown.
Joe's Fiki as well. I think in the tournaments that follow this, I don't think he's even in Italy's squad. In the Euro 8 and World Cup 2010, you know, he's not really a feature.
No. Well, but this is what I'm saying. He's 29 by this point.
Aye, so he's getting on.
So like, do you think of the World Cup 2010? He really is mid-30s, maybe a better left back by then. But you're like, where was he? Where's he been? Where's he came from? Like right to the fore. Yeah. And that finished into the far corner. It's very interesting as well when you look at the German team. Because in goals, they've went for Jens Lehmann as opposed to Oliver Kahn.
Yes.
But Oliver Kahn did play the final group game for Germany. But it looks like there's been a changing of the guard. But interestingly, Phil, both goalies are the exact same age.
Yeah, I can remember a story during this tournament with the Oliver Kahn, where in one of the early games, there was a big brouhaha about it, and whatever commentator it was, were talking about it in the German media. There's been a big story, and Germany conceded a goal. It might be in the opening game because they lost 2 goals to Costa Rica, both scored by Paulo Wanchop. There you go. That's me set the chat off now. But I'm pretty sure when he lost those 2 goals, the cameras very specifically cut to Oliver Kahn sitting on the bench, looking quite angry because there was a real sort of Kahn couldn't believe he'd been dropped, basically, you know, and there was like a real thing in the German media. But yeah, it's interesting as well. You say that they're both the same age.
Both the exact same age. Yeah. So it's not like, why has there been a passing of the, like, surely the change of the guard would be Oliver Kahn, in my opinion, was a far superior goalkeeper at Jens Lehmann and less irritating, although both of them get points for that, for being irritating. But I mean, Jens Lehmann used to drive me bonkers. He was that annoying. He was so frustrating.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how, like, Kahn was always ahead of Lehmann, always ahead of him. Then they both get to 36, 37, and suddenly Lehmann overtakes him at that point. I'm like, no. The guy to overtake Kahn at that point should have been surely the next.
Yeah.
The next generation, maybe. Whether it was at Hans-Jörg Butt that they used to have. He was the Leverkusen goalie.
Yep.
When they got to the Champions League final and stuff. Surely there was him. There was Timo Hildebrand who was emerging.
Hildebrand
was a Stuttgart goalie when we played against him. He was seen as one of the next big things at the time. I just always thought if Kahn's going to be passing on the gloves, it seems a sideways move to do it for one prick to another. And I had no sympathy. Sympathy for Jens Lehmann. That belter of a finish from Fabio Grosso going in the far corner. Fuck him.
But yeah, I do remember there being a big brouhaha about the sort of rivalry between the two, because there's definitely a moment during one of the games where it does cut to Kahn's face, no looking too amused at a goal that Jens Lehmann had just lost. So there was definitely some bad tension there. Don't know if it was to do with Klinsmann, maybe just a personal choice, just we got on better with Lehmann, but it does seem weird when you are going to face a goalkeeper or face somebody out of position, you go for the young generation, because we're still a few years off of Manuel Neuer. Still a good few years off him. He's still a good 4 or 5 years away. But yeah, it was a strange one. But yeah, you had no chance against this. One of those, again, you put 2 goalies in. It was right where you want it to be, just out of his reach, bends it in, and it hits the post on the way in. But of course, Germany, they've got basically a minute to save themselves. They charge forward from the kickoff, but then they cross the ball into the box. The Italians quickly clear it, and then probably one of the most legendary counter-attack goals happens. Italy break from the back to the front in about 5 seconds. And it ends with Gilardino cutting across the edge of the 18-yard area, back heels it, Del Piero's running on it, takes a touch to steady himself, and with his right foot, bends it round into the top corner. It's an incredible goal to win it and to seal it and make it 2-0. But yeah, one of the best counter-attack goals I think I've ever seen, Russell. easily.
Absolute class, mate. And again, it's just Cannavaro's just absolute desire. When he wins the first challenge, it's the fact he then just follows, he follows through, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just bursts forward. He actually gets the ball kind of nipped off his feet. I think the momentum was with Cannavaro to be doing the bursting thing, and then he's just went, do you know what? You're right. You are better at football than me. I was having a heroic moment there, but it's fine. You can nick it off my feet if you want. I can't remember who it is that does that, whether it's Totti or not. I really don't know. But someone but it's the way he's headed it clear, and then so unusual to see him sprinting then out and chasing his own header clear. Yeah. That's what Cannavaro does, and he kind of brings it down. He's approaching the halfway line, and obviously an Italian player with a better technique than Cannavaro just takes it off his feet and is like, I leave now the rest to the footballers. Thank you, Fabio. And Fabio kind of has a second. He's like, fuck you. What happened there? I was having my Tony Adams 97, 98 moment here.
Yes.
That's Steve Bolden, you need him. But the football's brilliant. A young Gilardino who was expected to go into great things in the Italy jersey. That back heel's quality. And Del Piero is at full tilt at this point. And yet he can just open his boot. He opens it almost so his toes now facing behind him. When you actually think the way he's opened his boot to get that angle onto the ball. He's opened the face of his boots so much so it can go there that I bet you his right index toe or right big toe is probably going to actually is now facing backwards. It's mental. Yeah. When you look at the angle he's hit it at, it's just a great goal. Great team goal.
Superb technique, man. Absolutely superb. But yeah, Italy have found a way through to the final with all the shithousery along the way. They've had a mixture, bit of shithousery, bit of sublime football, but they've found a way. They're in the final. First time since 1994. They'll play in the World Cup final. But who will be their opponents? Well, we'll move on to the next talking point and have a wee focus on them because, there is one man, the last Zidane's we're going to be talking about here. I could have done the last Zidane's as well, I suppose, but it's the last Zidane. So before the tournament, Zinedine Zidane
I like it.
He'd already announced that he was going to be retired. So this was it. He was going to go out on a high. One of probably the best number 10 of our generation. You could, it's quite late. You could say that. I mean, no many people are going to argue with that one.
So.
But he's announced that he's going to retire. So he's retiring from club football and international football, although he had retired from international football after Euro 4, but he was convinced to come back. But he's a captain for the France team going into this. But this France team are definitely not at the peak of their powers. This is not 1998 and 2000 anymore.
But it is the same guys.
It's the same guys. I know we've still got Thuram, Barthez, Mcginlay'S, Coupe, Wiltord, and of course Zidane. They're all 30 plus. And another change that we've had as well is the eccentric Raymond Domenech is now the manager of France. A guy who would pick players based on things like star signs and stuff like that. And it was like, oh man, this guy was a bit mad because it was Remy Jacquet was the manager of the 98 World Cup. Then it was Jacques Santini was the manager, and now it's Raymond Domenech was the manager. But he was a bit of a madman at times. But he's took over. So France are in a group with Switzerland, South Korea, and Togo, who are making their World Cup debut with their talisman Emmanuel Adebayor up front. But they don't even win this group. Despite looking at that, you're like, Switzerland, South Korea, and Togo, they've got to top that group, but they don't. They actually finished second behind the Swiss. They started off with a 0-0 tie against Switzerland. Then they draw 1-1.
Hakan Yakin inspired.
Hakan Yakin, mate. And a Murat Yakin as well. He was probably in amongst that team.
As long as we can say Hakan Yakin on every show, mate.
Hakan Yakin. Definitely getting linked with us at this point in mid-2000s. So
Hakan Yakin.
Yep. They got this is the Switzerland team that I've talked about before that didn't concede a goal in the entire tournament and they still got eliminated. Good for them. So they've drawn 0-0 with the Swiss, 1-1 with South Korea, and they beat Togo 2-0 in the last group game and they limped through. So France, they've definitely underwhelmed. They've just limped through there, but maybe one of those again, they might grow into the tournament. You never know. But most people are thinking, this France team are done. They've not got much left in the tank here. But no, in the second round, it was like watching USA 94 again, where you had that Italy team that stumbled through the groups, and then Roberto Baggio just thought, nah, fuck this for a laugh. I'm going to drag us single-handedly, because Zinedine Zidane just decided to do that. He absolutely grabs the rest of the team by the scruff of the neck and drags them all the way to the final. They start off a game against Spain despite going 1-0 down to a David Villa goal, Zinedine Zidane pretty much leads the charge. It's quite reminiscent of his performance against Portugal at Euro 2000, where everything that France do goes through him. He leads the charge. Ribéry gets them back on level terms before Vieira makes it 2-1 with 5 minutes to go. Zidane scored. And he's a very young Ribéry who's still playing now. Ribéry's still...
Fiorentina?
It's them, or he's moved to another Italian team. He's definitely still playing in Italy. Definitely still out there. But yeah, Frank Ribéry's still kicking about, man. So fair play to the guy. He must be, 40 or something now? What is he, Russell? You'll know his date of birth.
Oh.
Well, he's just after champ man.
I would guess... He is. I'm going to guess that Ribéry would be 37 or 38. I think he was born... No, 83 I think he was born. That would be my guess.
83 is correct. He's 39 just now. He just turned 39 a couple of months ago. There you go, 83, mate. Well played.
And he's just turned 39.
Wow. Yeah, April. So, he's basically busted. This is his first tournament, but yeah, they end up coming through to beat Spain 3-1. But don't worry, Spain, your time is coming very, very soon, because Spain are always the great underachievers, the great chokers in tournaments, but they're a little bit. They're very close to greatness. They're very, very close.
This is their taster. This is the taster for that squad. This is a huge learning curve for a lot of that Spain squad. I think, because I think the core of this team, despite it being a disappointing exit at the last 16, I think they keep that group in the main altogether, and they go again for the next couple of tournaments, and did not too bad.
Oh, did not too bad at all. But after that amazing performance, again, Zidane is the star of the show. It's a repeat of the 1998 final, and once again, Zidane is pulling the strings. He's absolutely running the show in the middle. He sets up Thierry Henry to score the winner midway through the second half. A free kick right to the back post, and Thierry Henry volleys it in. Brazil, as I said at the start, we'll talk about the night cards. They did kind of underwhelm in this tournament. There was a lot of, this is going to be Ronaldo's big. He did score a couple of goals at the tournament. Ronaldo did nail a couple.
3 goals he got.
Was it 3 in the end?
He scored 2 against Japan, and he scored 1 in another game.
Right, okay. So, but overall,
Ghana, I think it might have been.
Right. Because compared to the last World Cups, I say it's just not really quick to see.
Is it 3 and 4? 3 and 4.
Yeah,
it's not bad, eh?
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Not bad, eh? What standard? I mean, what standard do we hold this guy to? 3 and 4 when he's 30 years old, probably a bit overweight, and literally playing with one leg.
Yeah,
I mean, his knee is gubbed by this, but I mean, it's so bad.
But the questions you probably need to ask more, as I said earlier on, is the guys that were meant to be the successor, like Adriano, this was meant to be, he was going to be there at the throne. He doesn't really do anything in the tournament. Ronaldinho doesn't really inspire them along the way. So it was just a real underwhelming performance for Brazil. Off they limp out in the quarterfinals to France. And then the semi-finals is a repeat of the Euro 2000 semi-final. It is France against Portugal. And again, it's a 1-0 victory. Zidane scores a penalty to win it for them. So, as I say, it is very, very reminiscent to Baggio at the 94 World Cup with Italy, where Zidane was just like taking his underperforming team, and he was just on another planet. He was inspired. Divine intervention stepped in or something, because he, at his age, at that time, 34 years old, just dragged them to that final. Was like, no, this is how we do it, guys. And it was a joy to watch. It really was a joy, wasn't it?
Aye, totally, mate. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Aye, class player, man. And so France have got themselves to the final. It's going to be a repeat of the Euro 2000 final, which we've talked about already as well. So, bad blood in the air for that one.
I've got opinions on the final, though, with Zidane. I've got opinions on that, but we'll wait till we get to the final, mate.
So, as we usually do before we talk about the final, we've got our favourite game and favourite goal, or maybe just a game that we want to bring some focus to. So, Russell, I'll hand over to you first for this one. What's your favourite game and goal from this tournament?
I think I'm biased because I'm Sweden daft. Do you know what I mean? I think that 2-2 draw for me really was, because it was such a significant moment that Henrik got his revenge, and I think, in fairness as well, Sweden were really unfit. I don't think, for some reason, despite the fact Henrik's only 34 at this point, do you think he plays at Euro 2008 as well? Like when he's 36. But at 34, Zlatan doesn't score at the tournament. Zlatan's still, I think, even at 24 now, 25, is still finding himself a wee bit to what type of striker is. Everyone can see his talent.
Yep.
And by this point, he wins that title with Juve. Of course, it gets stripped off them, as you were talking about. But he actually was part of the side that finished top, scored a decent amount of goals. And Inter Milan are more than willing to sign him up that 2006. Yet still in the Champions League and still at international tournaments, there is question marks about him still. Like, what the fuck is it with this guy? And because we don't all watch Serie A week in, week out, it's compounding that when you're seeing a tournament like this where you're going, well, it's not really fair to be still putting it on Henrik. And it's not, and by then, Lundberg, I don't think, is quite the player he was already by then. Yeah. He's what, 29. I think it was all on Zlatan. He didn't really deliver, to be honest, at this tournament. But all that being said, yet again, they come up trumps against the English, and it's with that. I just think that had the drama that I was looking for. But I also think, to play devil's advocate, maybe that's my moment because it was Henrik, but I do think the Grosso goal, you remember where you were when that happened?
Yeah.
I felt that's when public opinion over in these shores completely skyrocketed for Italy to win the tournament.
Oh, definitely.
I've never known Italy to be that loved to win a tournament before the 2006 World Cup. They were the people's choice, definitely to win it, I think.
Aye, definitely going to that final. So I was 100% on Italy's side. I've mentioned before, I've always got, like you talk about your Sweden leaning, I've always got an Italy leaning in tournaments because, again, with Baggio and stuff like that. So to see Italy get it. Plus, the national anthem's an absolute banger. Let's be honest, the Italian national anthem is phenomenal. But yeah, they always get support for me. So they were definitely, for most people, the favourites going in. Because that France team, I say, Zidane is unbelievable. He's dragged them there, but the rest of the team are pretty much just relying on him, but Italy seem to just come together. It was maybe, again, the siege mentality. They just were so exciting to watch at times. Yep. So, yeah, they were, that goal that St. Grosso scores, it's so inch perfect when he finds that spot. The one bit that Jens Lehmann couldn't reach, so it's a great shout for a favourite goal. Although my favourite game and goal, I'll give you a clue, has got this team all over it. It is them. Just out of the top today, I bought this. Argentina, they are all over mine because my favourite goal is Maxi Rodriguez's thunder bastard of a volley against Mexico in the second round. Russell, do you remember this? The cross from out left, he chests it down and absolutely connects so perfectly with his left foot, absolutely rips the net with it.
Am I right in thinking both Maxi Rodriguez and Maxi Lopez ended up having a spell at Liverpool?
I don't know about Lopez, but Rodriguez definitely. Yeah,
the one with the blonde hair ponytail. I'm convinced he was at Liverpool at one point. I didn't check Lopez, it.
Okay.
I've got a feeling he was, but I remember them both at the sort of that same era. There was a real crop coming through then because it was like Mascherano, Tevez, Maxi Rodriguez, Maxi Lopez. They were the real sort of stalwarts, and Cavanaghi was meant to be coming through as well. Remember that name?
Yeah, I do indeed.
Remember
I remember that one. Yeah.
was meant to be. He was meant to be like one of the next huge names in Argentinian football. Don't quite think he made it. And there was another one, Milito, I think it was.
Diego Milito.
He seems to have been of that sort of age group as well. Colaccini as well, who ended up spending his peak years at Newcastle.
He did.
He was of that age group. I don't think he was meant to end up there, by the way, for his peak years.
Discount Carlos Puyol had the same hairstyle as him. Had the exact same hairstyle as Puyol.
He was meant to be at Newcastle, mate, like for his peak years. I don't know how that happened with Colaccini. He's loved there, though. Absolutely loved there.
Yeah,
but it's probably because they knew why the fuck is he here? He was far too good for them, mate. No offense to any Newcastle fans, he was far too good.
Oh, he was good. He was a good defender for them because he's a stalwart for Argentina at this point. But yeah, the favourite goal I say for mine is Maxi Rodriguez because again I love a good volley. I love the Joe Cole one, but that one was special. And I say earlier I did mention the Cambiasso goal against Serbia. That is an absolute scintillating team goal. But my favourite game, I've actually mentioned it on a previous episode. I brought it up because, again, I talked about how I love to see like an underdog team just play with no fear. I've mentioned the Ivory Coast. This is their first World Cup, but they've got a lot of notable players in their squad. They've got Drogba, they've got Yaya Toure, Kolo Toure, Didier Sikora, Emmanuel Aboué, Aruna Dindan, Aruna Kone, Guy Demel. Yeah, these guys all played for the Ivory Coast. Who was the Dindan's club again?
Anderlecht, mate. Scored 2 goals against us.
Against us. That's where he was.
Aye. It was no surprise to us that he was scoring at the World Cup. He was the guy that we thought we were going to Belgium with Celtic to actually. We actually thought we were going to. That would be the first away game cracked. Ironically, it is that venue that became our first ever away win in the Champions League. Just over a decade later.
Aye,
under Brendan Rodgers. But Aruna Dindan, basically, we were a far better team than that Anderlecht team there.
Yeah.
And he stepped up. Never held him in your life, and he was excellent that night.
Yeah.
Excellent. But aye, that's the same one, mate.
Nah, because see the Ivory Coast, even though this is their first tournament, they just go at Argentina and don't give them a moment's peace. They're pressing them all the time. They make loads of chances, but they just can't score. Maybe it's naivety or something on the big occasion. But I mean, Argentina's team, I'll list off some of their players: Ayala, Aymar, Riquelme, Milito, Saviola, Crespo, Cambiaso, Heinzer, Mascherano, and Tevez. And they've even got a young Lionel Messi on the bench at this tournament. He isn't starting, but he's on the bench. Yeah, he did score against Serbia.
Aye,
he did score.
He gets an assist in one of the games as well.
Aye, he does. He does come on, but he's no starting yet. But I mean, that's still a scary, talented team. But Ivory Coast are just like,
really is.
Nah, we're just going to play with no fear. And I just loved the game, and I felt so bad for Ivory Coast. They lose the game 2-1, but they just keep going at them, and it's like they don't give they make Argentina work for it. And I love to see that at the World Cup. It's one of the things that I always enjoy is like a big team, big reputation, and they come up against a team that are just like, no fear. Like, we're on the biggest stage now. We're just going to go for it. Absolutely loved it. So that game always stands out for me. But as I say, Argentina were all over my favourite game and favourite goal. So yeah,
that's fair.
Good memories, fond memories of that one. And the final, Russell, the final is in Berlin. It's between Italy and France. As I say, it is a rematch of the Euro 2000 final from just a few years ago. Italy are the 3-time champions going into this. France, 1-time world champions. Both teams are absolutely littered with superstars, which the neutrals love to see. Now, France take the lead in the first 10 minutes. Foreign Malouda gets fouled, and up steps Zinedine Zidane, and he has got the biggest cojones in the world because he does a Panenka. Do you disagree? Okay.
Already disagree. Already.
Okay.
I think he was being a self-indulgent prick, and it was the last game of his career, and he made it all about him.
Wow. Okay.
And I think his execution shows that. Zidane, if he wants to Panenka, if he wants to Panenka any other time in his career, you look how good he is. He Panenkas it properly, right? That was the first time. It was a self-indulgent, needless move, and he absolutely nearly cost his team. And I think it's the first sign that you start going, the emotion of this being his last game's got to him.
Okay. That's a good way of looking at it, because when you do look at the replay, I remember watching it live in real time, and I thought it had to cross the line because it is so close to not being over the line. It just bounces just marginally behind it, and even he's a bit unsure, and everyone in the stadium's a bit unsure. Did that even cross?
Exactly.
It was a huge chance.
And I think that maybe even unnerves him further.
Yeah.
Now, we look back at finals, Phil. This is what we do in this show, and we look at a nervy 21-year-old Ronaldo at the '98 World Cup, who ends up having, as he's admitted himself, what was the word I told you it was? It was a convulsion, or was it a
convulsion? Yeah, convulsion.
Yeah, and he's admitted that, it turns out, which was annoying that I found that out doing the research for the next World Cup that we did, as opposed to ahead of the '98 one. But when you're that age and it's your first World Cup final and all the pressure's on you, let's flip it and go, it's your last ever football match of all time, and you're captaining the country, and also all the hopes revolve around you. And I think it's got to him a wee bit. I think it has got to him. And I do also think there is an arrogance and an ego that is also battling with his nerves and the fact he's not handling the fact that I'm about to bow out football yet. He's probably thinking, have I made the right decision? Because he's had a great tournament. He's 34. He's too stubborn to go back on it.
Yeah.
So, like, I think he's caught in a mindset that is very, very frayed. It's going in so many different angles. There's this romance of it's my final game of my career, Phil, right? And it's my final game ever. And I'm the main man and I'm going to be the hero. There's then letting that become more important than the team. There's then also an upset about him, almost like he's emotionally torn because I don't want this to be my last game. I don't want to leave. And then there's almost this snidey side that is, well, if I'm leaving, you'll not forget my name.
Well,
and it's almost like with the penalty, that's the first sign that I don't think he's in control, mate. I honestly don't think he's in control from the early stages. And when you see that doubt, as you rightfully point out, because he is doubtful after Penenka's it. Look, see Andrea Pirlo when he Penenka's it. He's already turned away, mate. It was before the ball's hit the net, right?
Yeah, he knows. Yep.
Right, there's an arrogance about it. Now, you don't tell me Zidane's not capable of that. Of course he is.
No.
So why is he standing looking almost, because it's shite. The Panenka's shite. And it's the first time you're going, this guy is honestly, he is, I think, mentally a wee bit on edge, mate, for this game.
Well, I really hope that the viewers have hit the like button on this, because for the second time tonight, people, they're witnessing history. Russell Bhoycie has opened my mind. He really has. Because, again, it's the other perspective, because I've always had that feeling watching that back and going, because I admire Zidane so much, going, the fucking bollocks on this guy to do that World Cup final. You know, I talk about how, like, Zlatan, if he was in the same position, he would do something crazy in a big pressure moment. And I look at Zidane and go, he fucking did that. He did something crazy in a World Cup final, chipping it down the middle against Gigi Buffon, probably one of the greatest goalies of our generation. And he was like, nah, no fear, I'm just going to chip it. But yeah, it's not a great Panenka in the end. It looks good because it clips off the bar and people think, oh, he probably meant that. No, he didn't mean that. He's went too high with it and he's got a wee bit lucky there. He's got away with his bouncing this. Well, it just comes down just behind the line. It's really close.
Yes. Well, let's progress with the final because I've got a couple other takes as well. Let's keep going.
So France have gone 1-0 up, but then an unlikely equaliser comes from Marco Materazzi, a corner from Pirlo.
Who gave the penalty away.
He did. I fouled for in Malouda and big Marco Materazzi.
So he's played a pretty big part in this final as well, Phil.
He does, by the way. The two guys that scored the goals. Oh, my God.
The two of them, and Materazzi, though, this is the funny bit. Materazzi, you instantly decide, is unhinged and is emotionally too upset for the final. Zidane, you don't want to accept it because it's Zidane. They are both going through, I think, the same frailties as each other. I honestly do. A mix of nerves, aggression, passion. I think they're both going through the same thing.
This is it's an unlikely year, but you're right. You get people who just think about Zidane and they just write him off. But yeah, you're totally right in that case because he does get that equaliser and he pulls it back to 1 each. Now, I was going to say as well, an interesting fact. This World Cup, I believe this is also the only ever World Cup final where the goal scorers have got the same first initial and same second initial, because you get Zizi and MM have scored. See that Zinedine Zidane, Marco Materazzi. I don't think any other World Cups ever had that before. Zizi and MM. So I'll need to look for all the goal scorers in World Cup history. But yeah, the game ends at 90 minutes. It's one apiece. We go in extra time, and this is the moment where this final will always be remembered for. So it is in the 110th minute of extra time. Zidane and Materazzi have a wee verbal exchange in the middle of the park. And then Zidane turns to Materazzi and headbutts him square in the chest, sending the Italian defender to the ground. Russell, take over, mate. What's your feelings about all this stuff, mate?
Why is Materazzi targeting Zidane of all the French players, right? You went through the list of the French players, Phil. It's an aging squad, but I'll tell you this, there's a lot more hot-headed players in that squad that I would be targeting on a normal basis.
Yep.
No. It's a tactic, Phil McGinlay. They've spied it. The second that Panenka penalty happens, they've all went, he's not right. He's not right today. He can be got at. And that is why anyone who thinks, I'm not condoning what Materazzi said. I think it was about Zidane's sister or something like that, wasn't it?
Aye.
I'm not going to ever condone that. But what I will say is, Materazzi isn't going to be personally meaning anything he says. Zidane deep down should be knowing that. Right? You can't just go, you say about my sister, I stuck the nut in you. I get it's not a nice subject. But really, what does he know about any of that sort of shit? It's called sledging. He's went to the dark arts of sledging. Yep. I admit that, and I'm not condoning it. But for me, you're 34. It's your final ever game in football, Zidane. You've been there. You've seen it. You've done it. But you've been targeted because you're emotionally over-attached to this football match. And it is in more ways than one. And I'm telling you, in Serie A, these defences are a tough school. As again, though, Zidane knows.
He played there.
Yeah. He played there. He won the Ballon d'Or as a Serie A midfielder.
Yep.
I think he's that lost in it. They've smelt blood, mate. He's been targeted. I don't think Materazzi may be the dog, mate, but I do not think even he is necessarily the guy who's got the rights to the copy of what it is he's telling Zidane. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a complete script and it's just fucking the next person that gets up and close to him say something naughty to him, because he is looking, the more and more this game goes on, after the opening moments when he's done that penalty, he's looking a bit unhinged. And that is all that's happened, Phil.
Yep.
Zidane opened himself up. Now, I appreciate someone said in the comments, maybe Gigi had faced that many penalties from him that he had to do it a different way. I take that on board to a point. I also think, look at the rest of Zidane's penalties. He just curls them. See, like across the body into that corner. That's what he does at the big moment when he needs to. All his penalties go like that. This one's crazy. You've given the best masters of the mind an insight into your psychology. And that is the facts. The Italians, you can't give them those inches, Phil. And they have smelled it a mile. Smelt it a mile away. Materazzi is the guinea pig, if you like, to do it. Who's probably got maybe more vulgar language than the rest. But I reckon it was a tactic that if you got up and close enough to him, say something in his ear, I think he could react. I don't think this is as off the cuff, spur of the moment that people make out. For me, Zidane is emotionally fucked in this game, and he's shown it. And I think it's just gamesmanship, mate, to go for it. And the polymorphous comes in with a good point. When he's had 14 reds in his career by this point, so he is a known hothead as well.
Yeah.
But I think in that game, see, once he's shown it a wee bit, and I agree with that polymorphous, if you've also got the knowledge, I think he can turn quite easy. And I think that penalty is huge in all of this, Phil. Huge in it. And I do not believe that Materazzi is as much of a villain as maybe portrayed.
Yeah.
I think he's just a sitting duck to do it. I think that could have been any of the rest of them. I think the Italians, as a team, have decided if you get that cold moment with him, say something.
Well, I said earlier on, with Italy's mentality in this tournament, they did kind of go back to the dark arts roots, and Zidane pretty much was the guy for France. Yeah, just business.
Not personal. It's just business.
They recognised that Zidane pretty much dragged that France team to the final. So if there's one guy you are going to target, it's got to be him. And also the thing about the red cards. Remember I mentioned in a previous episode talking about Zidane, I said there was it was like called the 21st Century Painting or something like that. There's a movie about him where it was just following him for a whole match against Villarreal. It's like 17 cameras are just watching him, and the whole film is just that. But at the end of the film, he gets sent off in it, and it's like, it's just so typically Zidane, because obviously this headbutt happens, the headbutt that's heard around the world. Materazzi falls to the ground, referee obviously sees it, sends him off, and you get that silhouette, that moment where he's walking off the park, head down, takes off the captain's armband, he walks by Raymond Domination, the camera work on it is just so perfectly timed. He walks by the World Cup with his head down, and it's like, that's the end of a career. And the strange thing is, I kind of love this. I'm a bit of a romantic when it comes to football, and there's something about the way his career ends, even though he's one of the greatest players I've ever watched, right? There's just something very poetic about it all. After all the Ballon d'Ors, all the tournaments he's won, everything that he's achieved in his career and how good he is, there's something that I like just about that's like the final moment of his career. Because I don't think Zidane is a flawed guy like Paul Gascoigne, for instance, who's a great player but very flawed. Zidane had a bit of a temper, but it's a bit like Cantona, I feel like, with Zidane, where he just had that mad moment in him. But there's just something about that image where he's walking off, it's kind of like disappearing into the sunset. That's the end of it. He's walking by the World Cup, and it's just...
You disappear, mate, holding the trophy, not looking at it. I think Zidane played for Zidane that final. And I respect, I love him to death, as a player. I really do. So it's not like this is I've always not liked Zidane or anything like that. That final, he let himself down. In my opinion, he played for himself. And maybe it's, as I say, the other factors at play. He's just created too much shite for himself almost. My last ever game, I've returned from retirement for France to do it. And the captain, I'm going to take a penalty and I'll Panenka it for some random reason. And he's just, he's got self-absorbed with it all. And I'm not saying it's all necessarily deliberately, but his psyche is very much about him and not his team.
Yeah.
That is what is that is honestly it's what has happened. And I think that the Italians have, I'm sorry, I think they've smelt it all for me.
They've smelt the fear, smelt the blood like sharks in the water.
If this was an England player, we'd be laughing because we'd be going, oh, it's so obvious that their head's gone. It's so obvious his head was gone. The Italians are just streetwise.
Yeah.
That's what we'd be saying. And I think that the same thing's happened, even to one of the all-time greats like Zidane. The one thing I would say, though, I do admire is it did prove that, you know, it's a human side, isn't it? It's human.
Yeah, definitely.
And I give him that. I give him that.
Right. But he, as he walks by the trophy, disappears off into the sunset. The game ends 1-1 after 120 minutes. We got a penalty shootout. Italy are flawless in their penalties, scoring all 5. The one that misses for France is David Trezeguet. He hits the crossbar. It bounces down just in front of the line. Doesn't cross the line. But is in the end, the winning penalty is Fabio Grosso steps up.
Like, where's this guy came from?
Yeah. He was like, he just appeared out of nowhere, and then just as quickly as he appeared, he was gone again.
And remember, at this point, if I'm thinking of Italy left backs, right? At this time, there is a Francesco Coco who's played for Inter Milan and Barcelona. I think he cost Barcelona an absolute fortune as a left back. And there's also Roma legend Vincent Candela.
And
I'm like, where does Grosso come into there? Like, where's he came from?
Did Zambrotta not play left back as well? Did he not play both right and left?
He could be right or left, but I think he's very much getting used in the right. He scores a beach of a goal at this World Cup, in fact, on his left leg, I'm sure. I'm sure it's on his left foot. But I just always find it interesting. Like Vincent Candler would have been, I don't know, 32. I don't know. He'd have been 32, right? And you're like, that's not old for an Italian player. The Italians seem to play till they're 50. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they've
Francesco Coco, he was at Inter. He went to Barcelona for big money, mate.
Oh yeah,
big money, and then he was probably back in Italy by now. But I mean, how's Grosso suddenly just jumped the queue? And I'm gonna guess playing for a pretty unfashionable club.
I mean, I could even guess what team he was at. Was it maybe like Fiorentina or something? I don't know.
I would guess Palermo or something. That's my guess. Palermo.
Well, let's take it to VAR for the third time tonight. Let's see if we can figure out where Grosso was playing. Let's go. Come on, VAR.
We'll do that, then we'll do the quiz before I get in, get the police at the door for the curfew.
The 2006, mate, from 2004 to 2006, that summer, he was playing for Palermo. Well done.
It must have rang a bell.
Then he transferred to Inter Milan after this World Cup, so he got his big move.
Just literally came in.
There you go. Oh, and also, Polymorpheus has also said in the chat that Vincent Candela was French. That's why he couldn't get a game for the Italian national team.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
If he was French, he wouldn't get in the Italian squad. I can agree with that.
A lot of dodgy stuff goes on in Italian football. Maybe a wee change of his passport or something. Who knows? But that wraps up the 2006 World Cup. Italy deserved winners in the end, I would say. But we will now move on to the quiz from the start of the night, and then we'll do a wee bit of data Bhoycie, and that should wrap us up for the evening. So the question at the start of the night, this is going to turn into just shouting answers, but anyway, it's a Miroslav Klose themed one because obviously it's a German World Cup. So he scored 16 goals at the World Cup against 10 different opponents. Can you guys name the 10 teams he has scored against?
So I've got 3 straight off the bat. I think Ghana.
He has scored against Ghana, yes.
Poland.
He has not scored against Poland.
Did he not score against that?
It was Oliver Neuville that scored against Poland in this tournament.
It was a similar type of player. That was my exact memory was super sub.
Yep.
Brazil.
He scored in the 7-1 game, the very famous 7-1. That's when he passed Ronaldo's record. That's when he passed it.
Which is annoying. To be fair, especially he's done it against them.
Surreal game to watch, though. Surreal.
Let's go with some guesses here. Patrick McLaughlin says Brazil, which I said Argentina.
Yes, Argentina. He scored against them twice in the 06 and 2010 World Cup. England, yes, 2010. The infamous game when Lampard's one crossed the line and it didn't get allowed.
Oh, yeah.
They went up the park a couple of minutes later and Miroslav Klose, I believe, scored to put Germany 3-1 up at that point. I think
it was Ireland, right?
Ireland is right, because that's the game when Robbie Keane scores the last-minute equaliser. Miroslav Klose had actually put them ahead.
I know. I was paying attention.
Right, so we've got Ghana, Brazil, Ireland,
Bruce
Argentina,
is
England.
saying Nigeria.
He has. And Russell, you cut out there?
I froze, yep. I definitely froze.
Nigeria's a no. They're not in Nigeria. But you've got 5 already, so you're doing okay.
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, Saudi Arabia scored 4 against the Saudis.
Australia?
2002. Australia, yes. Australia's one of them.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 to go. Ryan Kelly says Uruguay?
You've got 3 to go. You've got Ghana, Brazil, Ireland, Argentina, England, Saudi,
Poland
Australia.
wasn't one.
Poland
wasn't one.
Yep.
My bad.
Uruguay isn't one. Nope.
Okay. Oh, Cameroon?
Cameroon is correct.
Ecuador?
Ecuador is correct.
Costa Rica?
And Costa Rica is correct. Yes,
Patrick McLaughlin.
Because Paulo One-Shop scored in the other one. He
That's
scored
how
the
you'll
Costa
know
Rica
that.
goals. Aye. That was the opening game of this tournament. Germany beat them 4-2. Philip Lam scored an absolute belter of a goal in that game, I'm pretty sure,
Look
as well.
at that. Patrick McLaughlin has watched closest World Cup goals. Not the best goals in the world.
Always happens, mate. Good number 9, mate.
You enjoy watching it, mate. Fair enough. I mean, it's like watching People Inzaghi's like best goals. Like, you literally get to like goal number 5 and it's a tap in for 3 yards.
Pretty much.
Honestly,
man.
Mate.
But yeah, that's
our
10 Miroslav Klose victims. And now, dear Bhoycie, I think you're getting it this time, mate. So you go.
Man, I want 5 out of 5. Come on.
Okay. Right, well, what end will I start with? Well, I'll go for a new one.
The rule as well, in case there's
okay. For anyone that doesn't know, Mr. Bhoycie is an absolute champ manager 0102 addict, and as a result of playing it for many years and many hours of it dedicated to it, he knows pretty much every top footballer's date of birth in terms of the year they were born. So I'm going to basically throw some names at him from players of around this era. And he will basically be able to tell me the year they were born in within about 5 seconds. It's freakishly good. I again have went for guys that all scored at this World Cup because it would be really snide if I picked like Poland's 5th choice centre back or something. That would be a bit poor. But anyway, we will start with Deco, Portugal midfielder.
1977.
Correct. Ivory Coast centre forward Didier Drogba.
Oh shit, 1978.
Yes, correct. We just talked about it a second ago. German striker Oliver Neuville.
In 1973.
Correct. Mexico legend Rafael Marquez.
1979.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is a guy that isn't in Champ Manager 102, but I think you'll know it. Lionel Messi.
The same year as me, 87.
Yes, 5 out of 5. There we go. He's done it, man. I knew you'd get the 5 this time. Freakishly good, folks. Freakishly good.
Yes.
Yeah.
How quick are those answers?
I said it less than 5 seconds. Aye, Marquez, who played for bloody ages.
Why does my brain trigger though? I'm like, boom. Instantly, I'm picturing the gear of the ball, and it's weird. That is not right.
So strange, man. But yeah, that wraps up our show for the 2006 World Cup, Bhoycie. Anything you wish to tell the viewers for what's coming up this week on the Z Bus?
Yes, we are going to be doing the TNF tomorrow with David Logan, Conor McCann. Hopefully, Conor McCann's got his mic issues sorted, and hopefully my Wi-Fi issues will be a wee bit more resolved as well. And we will target doing some sort of show over the weekend. I mean, there's no double doon booked because it's kind of stopped because the bus is getting so big. But the season hasn't quite started yet. But I'll come up with something, Phil. I might just drop a wee bomb on Friday and just go, who wants to join us in the bus? You know, you never know. I might do something. I'll keep you all in the loop. As I say, like enjoy the quiet periods while you can, because we are going 7 days a week very, very soon. So we just enjoy it now. But then obviously don't forget, and I was saying this with Jonathan on Monday, you have to be on this Sunday, stop what you're doing at brunch. In fact, carry on doing what you're doing. Put it on as an audio. Just put it on YouTube. But the Regan Celtic Sunday Blether is a joke how good that is with Mark Kearney. Get it, listen to. And listen to it live, because these shows are obviously always topical. It doesn't take long sometimes for these podcasts to sort of expire in terms of their relevance, Phil. Whereas obviously Bustalgia,
you can listen to
anything
right
now. Let's talk to them right now, Phil. the year is 2023 and you're just watching your first ever Bustalgia. It's brilliant, mate. Welcome. Because there will be someone next year watching this for the first time. It's brilliant fun.
They're timeless, these ones. These don't have a timestamp on them, so you can just go back and listen when we start the new season. And I'll be doing the Celtic years again. It'll be the same. You won't have like the up-to-date news stories, so you can go back and listen to them anytime. And also,
mate.
a wee advantage for the folk to be made aware of, if you want to catch up on a lot of old episodes, you can now go onto the channel, go into the playlist section, because the playlist section has now been nicely cleaned up. All of the Regan Sunday Blethers are all in order. All the Bustalgias are all grouped together. They're all there. It's really handy to get to if you want to catch up on stuff. All the Monday clubs are all there in one playlist.
Yes.
So yes, it's all there. And when we go into the new season, we'll obviously post-match pitches and stuff like that will all be going up as well. In fact, there's one, Russell, we're playing on Saturday against Rapid Vienna. Any plans for these friendlies for the next week and a half, or any post-match pitches?
See,
for
today's one, like, honestly, I had no interest in it. The Rapid Vienna one, I suppose, captures the imagination a wee bit more. I suppose after work it gives me an excuse to have a few beers with you guys, so we could do a post-match pitch from 7 o'clock or something like that. What time is the kickoff? Is it 5:30 again?
I have no idea about the kickoff.
Oh, come on. You never answer. You've no idea. Come on. You must know, mate. Celtic, Rapid Vienna. Let's have a wee.
Somebody in the chat will tell us, no doubt. Or you'll just look it up.
Right, tell me 1984 on Google. I'm like, I don't know what.
Well, maybe we are in the Bustalgia episode. We could go back to 1984.
6 p.m. kickoff. We could have a wee Saturday Night Fever, mate. We could have Saturday Night Fever. We could do Saturday Night Fever.
Could be the first PMP of the new season.
Back. Yeah, we'll just do Saturday Night Fever, I think, this week. Yeah. Why not?
There you go.
I'll see you there, Phil.
Aye, cool. So, yeah, everybody, remember to hit that like and subscribe and all that other good stuff as well. And we will be back next week in Bustalgia for Euro 2008. That should be a good one. But we shall catch you then. Russell, it's been a pleasure as always, mate.
Legend, mate. Thanks again, Phil. Some job, mate. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.